What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto x Possessive Temari? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Four souls, all of them shunned for different reasons, come together to find a place where they can belong. Their journey to find that place is a story that will become the stuff of legends. Our tale takes place 1 year after Naruto's battle with Sasuke and Orochimaru. 16-year-old Uzumaki Naruto held a bloody kunai in his hand while standing under the rain. It was drenched with the blood of 50 civilians of Konoha. It happened after he left Ichiraku for the night, as his thoughts of that battle a year ago tormented his mind. Even though he was a Chunin now and had learned many techniques from Jiraiya, Yamato, Kakashi, and Tsunade, he still felt powerless to save his former teammate from the darkness that is the snake Sannin Orochimaru and his quest for vengeance and power. Unfortunately, Kami was about to throw him another curveball. As he headed to his home, he was surrounded by a large mob of villagers that wanted one thing and one thing only. And that was his death. Naruto looked around the rooftops, but he sensed none of the Anbu that guarded the village. He sighed, anticipating this. With the exception of his precious people, most of Konoha considered him the demon and not its container. Great, just what I don't need, Naruto said to himself somberly. He really was not in the mood for this as the crowd started to approach him and began to yell their usual taunts at the young man. Hey demon, leave this village, no one wants you here. Die you freak, demons aren't welcome in Konoha. I can't believe you have friends. Who would want to be friends with a monster like you? The insults and slurs just kept coming and coming as they started to toss rocks, kunai and other objects at him. The blonde-haired ninja's anger was rising and he knew that he had to escape since the seal that held the Kyuubi no Kitsune, nine-tailed fox, was very unstable as of late, that the people who could help him with it were away at the time. He took a few steps back and was about to jump up to the rooftops when he suddenly felt a piercing pain in his back. Naruto screamed in pain and turned around to see a man plunging a kunai deep into his right kidney. Even though the man was dressed normally, Naruto automatically knew that it was a ninja. A villager would never have gotten the drop on him so easily. As he was about to attempt to remove it, the villager plunged the kunai even deeper until only the tip was showing. The pain the blonde ninja was so great that he was bending down on one knee. The villager had the advantage and convinced the mob to attack. Come on everyone, I've injured the demon, now's our chance to destroy him, the villager cried. In a moment's notice, the mob surrounded the young ninja and attacked him with anything they could put their hands on. Naruto covered his face with his hands and tried to block the punches, kicks and sharp objects they were using against him. But the kunai was still stuck in his kidney and he was slowly losing consciousness with all the blood he lost. The villager pulled out another kunai and was about to plunge it into his heart. But his previous actions was about to be his last, because at that moment a loud roar was heard. A roar that was not human. You foolish humans, do you really think you can destroy me? I'll destroy all of you instead. The evil voice growled with malice as red chakras swirled around Naruto and 5 chakra tails swung behind him. Normally the tails would not appear at such a fast rate. But the weakening seal combined with Naruto's pent-up rage and his natural will to survive contributed to Kyuubi's easy release. The mob started to panic and the villager gasped in horror as the kunai in Naruto's kidney fell out while the remainder of his wounds started to heal at a rapid rate. They started to run away, but it was all in vain as the cubified Naruto pulled out a platinum kunai and started slashing and stabbing the mob. Hey, don't run off, I want to play with you. Kyuubi bellowed with an evil chuckle as he ran after every member of the mob, killing them with ease and enjoying their screams. He made sure to save the villager for last and cornered him next to the pile of bodies he created. The man tried begging and pleading for mercy, but the demon fox simply roared with laughter. I should thank you human for letting me out for some fun. Here is your reward, Kyuubi said with a smirk. And with a chakra-enhanced downward slash, he cut the villager in half. The demon fox let out a final laugh at his handiwork and finally returned Naruto's body back to him. Taking a moment to collect himself, he looked around and saw the dead bodies around him. What happened? Naruto said drowsily as he looked at the bloody kunai in his hand. As soon as he saw it and the corpses that surrounded him, He dropped it immediately and started to tremble while tears started to fall from his eyes. "Oh Kami, what have I done?" Naruto sobbed as he looked at his bloody hands. Even though he had passed out from the loss of blood, he already knew what had happened when he saw the carnage. And as if the village wasn't cursing him enough, who should conveniently appear but an Anbu guard who was a friend of the villager who started it all. "I can't believe that Shingo failed," the Anbu guard thought to himself as he looked at the deformed body of his comrade. For the past couple of weeks, the two Anbu guards had noticed that Tsunade had given Naruto time off to train and that when he headed home, the blonde ninja was extremely exhausted and had little chakra. So they decided that they would strike with the help of the villagers who hated the demon container as much as they did. Unfortunate for them, Naruto did not train this day and decided to use the day to relax and reflect on various things, which is something he has been doing a lot lately. "Shingo, I will not let your sacrifice be in vain," the Anbu guard thought as he looked at the one he called Demon Brat. He decided to act as if Naruto killed them on purpose and take him out in a justified killing. What the hell happened here?" the guard asked in a stone-cold voice. The blonde ninja snapped out of his sorrowful state and wiped his tears, lifting his head to look at the Anbu. "No, the Anbu guard is here. Not now," Naruto shouted in his mind. He already knew that no matter what he said, the ninja wouldn't believe him. Even so, he figured that he had to at least try to explain. "I didn't mean to do it. It just happened," he said with panic in his voice. "You demon brat. You attacked these innocent villagers and killed them all." The guard spat in a mock-angry tone, trying to play his part. "And no, it's not like that. They attacked me first. I didn't mean for this to happen," Naruto said, trying to defend himself as best he could. "Don't make excuses, murderer. I always knew you'd end up killing again, you demon brat. Now you'll pay for your crimes," the Anbu guard said angrily as he drew his ninjutsu, a katana made for ninjas, and prepared himself to strike down the blonde-haired ninja. "Maybe he's right. That bastard fox may have done this, but I did nothing to stop it. I'm just as guilty as he is," Naruto thought depressingly. After being tormented for so long by the villagers of Konoha, he hoped he would gain their respect by becoming Hokage. But after seeing the blood of the villagers he swore to protect on his hands, he knew that the dream that he fought so hard for almost all his life was over, and nothing he said or did was going to change that. Just as the ninja was about to strike Naruto, the soothing sound of a flute was heard and the Anbu instantly fell asleep on his knees. A beautiful young kunoichi with flowing red hair reaching down to her lower back appeared behind the guard with a kunai in her hand. With one swift motion, she slit his throat and the Anbu soldier slumped to the ground. That was the Ototon, Anma no Jutsu, sound release, quiet sleep technique, Naruto thought. He knew exactly who it was that used it. "What the fuck do you think you're doing, Naruto-kun? That Anbu bastard almost had you," the red-haired girl said with a scowl on her face. "To Yuya-chan," the blonde ninja said softly with a small smile on his face as he looked at the kunoichi that was once his enemy. Yuya, the once foul-mouthed member of the Sound Four, never thought she would never have a chance to lead a life with people who could be considered friends after being given the curse seal by Orochimaru. But after meeting Naruto, her life was never the same. After being defeated by his future girlfriend Temari and her Kachiyose, Kirikiri Mai, summoning, quick beheading dance, Yuya's lower body was trapped under a large tree. However, she miraculously survived the Wind Mistress's assault and was found a few days later by the blonde ninja, who went into the forest for some time to himself after failing to retrieve Sasuke. After freeing her from beneath the large tree, he carried her back to Konoha and the conversation they had would change the red-haired kunoichi's outlook on her life. Flashback. "Hey you damn leaf," Yuya said weakly. "Hey, I have a name and it's Naruto," the blonde-haired ninja said loudly. "Whatever. Hey Naruto, why the fuck are you helping me?" she asked. "Huh? Why do you ask?" he asked back with a confused look on his face. "What do you fucking think? I'm a sound ninja. I helped kill that old Hokage of yours. I helped that stupid ass Uchiha go to Orochimaru. I'm your enemy," she yelled with a hoarse voice. A sharp pain hit Naruto's heart at the mention of the Sandaime Hokage Sarutobi. He was one of his precious people and didn't know that the girl was there during that battle against Orochimaru. He frowned for a few minutes, not answering the girl, but smiled shortly after. Those who break the rules are scum, this is true. But those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. He said softly to the red-haired girl. Huh? What the fuck is that supposed to mean? She spat. This time it was Tayuya who was confused. It's something that my sensei Hitaki Kakashi said once. You may be my enemy. And you may not or will ever be my comrade. But I'm not the type of ninja who abandons someone in need. Besides, I couldn't just stand there and let you die. Naruto replied with a serious tone in his voice. Tayuya gasped and lowered her head at his response. She had never heard anyone say such a thing. For a ninja, showing mercy and compassion to your enemy is a quick way to lead to your death. But for some reason, his words had started to heal her wounded heart. You're a goddamn baka, idiot, you know that? She said in a surprisingly warm voice. He smiled at her response. Hey, so I've been told. He chuckled. But at least I'm a baka carrying a pretty girl. He added in a blaring voice. Flattery will get you nowhere, shithead. Tayuya said with a smirk. Who said I was flattering you, Tayuya-chan? Naruto retorted in a playful voice while adding the suffix in her name to tease her. When I recover from my wounds, I'm gonna kick your ass, Naruto-kun. The red-haired girl snapped with a small blush on her cheeks, not realizing that she added the suffix to his name. The blonde-haired shinobi's smile widened and he started to laugh. Wow, I must be making a good impression for you to call me that, Tayuya-chan. He said in regards to the added suffix in his name. This caused Tayuya's blush to grow a few shades darker. Fuck you, Naruto-kun, she said quietly, knowing that the genin beat her in their little verbal battle. The sound ninja once again added the suffix to his name, but she didn't care. For some reason, Tayuya felt safe around him, and she knew he could be trusted. She yawned and lowered her head on his shoulder, falling fast asleep while breathing shallowly on the boy's neck. Sleep well, Tayuya-chan, Naruto whispered with a warm smile on his face. As he said those words, a small smile crept on the girl's face and she snuggled into his shoulder. It was the best rest she had in her young life. End flashback. When they returned to Konoha, Naruto did everything possible to make sure his newfound friend would not be executed. With a little help and a few threats from the Godem Hokage Tsunade, as well as some assistance from Kakashi and Anko, who knew all too well about being used by the Snake Sanin, Tayuya was pardoned reluctantly by the council for her crimes against Konoha on the condition that she would reveal all that she knew about Otogakure no Sato, the village hidden in sound, and Orochimaru's plans. With the blonde genin by her side, she accepted the conditions. It was then that she silently vowed allegiance not to Konoha, but to Naruto for saving her life and for starting the process of healing her heart. Before Naruto left for his 2.5-year training trip with the Toad Sanin Jiraiya, he let the ex-Sound Kunoichi stay at his place until his return and left her in Tsunade's care. Although it was difficult for Tayuya to part with her new best friend, she accepted it and vowed to him to always stand by his side till the end when he returned. After he left, she started to train under Anko and quickly learned all of her jutsus, much to the surprise of the snake mistress. The two became good friends and Tsunade made the red-haired girl an official ninja of Konoha a year later. Afterwards, she worked on her genjutsu and expanded her knowledge of taijutsu, ninjutsu, and chakra control to increase her strength and skills. When Naruto returned, he and Tayuya were almost inseparable. She also made her peace with Temari at the blonde ninja's behest, mainly because she was his girlfriend. It proved to be in her best interest as she started to date the Godem Kage Gaara after he was saved by Naruto's team from the Akatsuki. Her time with him helped the former holder of the Ichibi no Shukaku, one-tailed Shukaku, regain some of the emotions in his heart he thought was lost, and Tayuya became one of Gaara's few precious people, next to Naruto and his siblings. This strengthened her loyalty to Naruto because she knew that unlike Orochimaru, he would not use her as a pawn and throw her away. Tayuya wouldn't enjoy the happiness she has now if it wasn't for him, and it was a debt she could never repay. Tayuya looked around and saw the bodies that lay strewn on the ground next to her best friend and comrade. She knew about the demon inside of him, and it didn't take a genius to figure out what happened. It was that goddamn fox, wasn't it? She asked him with a sad tone. Yeah, Naruto replied dismally. She placed a hand on his shoulder to console him and he looked at her with a sad smile. Don't be so fucking hard on yourself, Naruto-kun. With the way these stupid-ass villagers treat you, I'm not surprised this shit happened. Tayuya said, trying to comfort him as best she could. I know Tayuya-chan, but still. He agreed hesitantly. The flutist frowned, knowing how important it was for him to become Hokage and earn the people's respect, and that this incident dashed his hopes for that. It's too damn bad that Yamato Shisho is on a long-ass mission and that Ero Sennin, perverted hermit, Jiraiya is away right now. She said with a scowl. Yeah, I know. But never mind that, we've got to run right now. The blonde ninja said with urgency as he suddenly realized the situation they were in. Shit, you're right. If we're caught, we'll be fucking executed. The red-haired Kunoichi quickly concurred. The duo immediately jumped on the rooftops and sprinted to the apartment they were sharing to grab some things before they escaped. They both figured they had at least 10 minutes before the whole village would be swarming with Anbu guards. Using the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique, Naruto ordered his clones to gather as many things that were necessary and to leave the useless stuff behind. They clones quickly grabbed the clothing, food and weapons, while Naruto and Tayuya grabbed the money they got from missions as well as their ninja technique scrolls. They were packed in 5 minutes, leaving the apartment nearly barren. They quickly ran west to the side gate. They both knew that the Anbu was doing a shift change around this time since they assisted them once when they became Chunin. They also knew that at that time personnel was light and it was their best chance to escape. Tayuya-chan, can you take care of them without too much noise? Naruto whispered to Tayuya while hiding behind the roof near the gate. He probably could have handled them on his own, but Naruto knew that Tayuya was better in the stealth department than he was, and he had no problem admitting that. Hell yeah, leave these fuckers to me, she replied with a confident smirk. She pulled out her flute and with a few hand seals she called out, Odaton. Hachu Kanmei, sound release. Wavelength confusion. As soon as the jutsu reached the guards' ears, they started attacking each other without mercy, completely oblivious to everything around them. I'm glad you're on my side, Tayuya-chan, Naruto said with a look of amazement on his face. Tayuya just laughed lightly at the comment. Shit, it was a piece of cake. Now let's get the fuck out of here, she said. She did a few more hand seals and called out, Odaton. Musehara, sound release. Silent field. Enveloping the two ninjas in an invisible field, making their movements completely soundless. They quickly jumped over the gate and started to run through the forest, not stopping until they were a safe distance from Konoha. Once they were a safe distance away, the two ninjas took a quick break and tried to figure out their next move. So Naruto-kun, do you have any idea what we should do now? Tayuya inquired. The blonde ninja thought about it for a few minutes and came up with the only solution available. I guess the only thing we can do right now is head to Suna and ask Gaara and Tima-chan for sanctuary. Naruto answered. He really didn't want to burden his girlfriend and close friend with their problems, but it was the only way he knew to survive the hunter nin he knew that would be coming for them soon. Not to mention he loved Temari very much and couldn't forgive himself if he left without at least saying goodbye. Sounds good to me. If anybody can hold off those Konoha Anbu assholes, it's my little Tanuki, raccoon dog. The flutist said with a lot of affection at the end. Naruto started to laugh out loud at the Kunoichi. Hey, what's so fucking funny? Tayuya yelled at her friend. You called Gaara, little Tanuki. He replied as he giggled at her non-stop. A huge blush crept upon her face in realization, remembering that she only called the Kage that cute nickname on their dates. Do me a favor and kiss my ass, Naruto-kun, she growled. Whatever you say, Tayuya-chan. Naruto countered playfully while blowing a kiss and laughing at her. Fuck you, Naruto-kun, I'll beat you one day. Tayuya grumbled in a defeated tone, knowing she lost another verbal battle with the blonde ninja. I'll be looking forward to it, he said with a smile to the Kunoichi. Tayuya gladly returned it, amazed that he could keep his sense of humor even in a situation like this. And without another word, they started to head to Suna, not knowing that a similar fate was happening to the precious people on their minds. In the village of Suna, an explosion can heard in the heart of the land. Sabaku no Gaara, Gaara of the desert, stood in the middle of the street with his siblings Kankuro and Temari by his side. They were surrounded by Suna Jonins, Chunins, and Anbu. And in the middle of the ninjas stood the Wind Country Lord with a smug look on his face. Just what is the meaning of this? Growled the Godem Kage. You know exactly what this is about, Gaara-sama. The Lord replied sarcastically. Cut the crap, you bastard. Why are you trying to kill us? Temari yelled angrily. Come now, you really didn't think we would allow a murderer and a failure like you to be caged, did you? The Lord said, laughing at the three while ignoring the Wind Mistress's question. So that's what this is about. You only made Gaara the cage because of Shukaku. And now that he doesn't have that demon in him anymore, he's no longer a threat to you. The Sand Kunoichi deduced. Sharp as always, Temari-san. The Lord said in a blasé fashion. You and your brothers failed to destroy Konoha, causing us great casualties. Then you cause us even more shame and embarrassment by being captured by Akatsuki. He added with a glower on his face. Don't blame us for what you idiots and that snake bastard did. Temari countered. The Wind Lord simply snorted at her response. HMPH, no matter. In any case, your usefulness to Suna has come to an end. By the order of the council and the village, you are no longer the cage Gaara-sama. The Lord decreed in a superior voice. In addition, you and your siblings are sentenced to death. He added with an evil smile. Just you try it. It'll be the last thing you ever do. Gaara said with an almost maniacal grin as his sand started to come out of his gourd. You can't intimidate us anymore, demon. Kill them, the Wind Lord ordered. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, the ninjas threw a slew of kunai and shurikens at the three of them. Temari immediately stepped out in front with her fan fully opened to 3 stars and called out, Kamaitachi no Jutsu. Cutting whirlwind technique. Sending the projectiles right back to their owners. Don't underestimate us. We don't quit and we don't run. Temari yelled, taking a statement from her koishi, beloved. Suddenly, Kankuro, who was unusually quiet, stepped in front of his elder sister and younger brother, taking his puppet karasu from his back and putting it on the ground. Get out of here, you two. I'll keep these guys busy. The puppet master said. Don't be stupid, Kankuro. You'll get killed. Temari shouted with a fumed expression on her face. Just shut up and get Gaara out of here. He retorted, not looking back at her. But brother. The Wind Mistress tried to talk, but Kankuro just silently raised a hand, cutting her off. I made a promise to Mom, and I'm going to keep it. Now go. The puppet master said with pain evident in his voice as he got into a battle stance, ready to take on the impossible odds. Kankuro, the Sand Kunoichi whispered, remembering the promise the two made to their mother Kurora to protect Gaara. She tried to stop the tears that started falling from her eyes, but she couldn't. Temari and Gaara both knew this would be the last time they would see their brother. Goodbye, Kankuro. Thank you, Gaara said joylessly. Without looking back, Kankuro smiled as tears started falling silently from his face. Despite the fear he once held against the now ex-cage, he still loved his little brother like any big brother would. Yeah, whatever, now get going, he choked as he tossed a few smoke grenades into the air to buy some time. Gaara and Temari dashed out of the smoke and began to run as fast as they could, while Kankuro tried his best to hold the Suna ninjas off and buy as much time as he could. He succeeded, but at the cost of his life, as the two siblings heard their brother's ear-splitting scream a mile away from the village. Shall we pursue them, my lord? A Sand Anbu asked. Let them go for now, but inform all Suna shinobi the Gaara and Temari are now S-ranked criminals. The Wind Lord replied. Take care of the wounded ninjas, find Baki-san and bring him to me. He commanded. Yes, my lord, the Anbu said obediently as he vanished. Meanwhile, in the Sand siblings' house, Baki was making plans of his own. That should be all of it. The Jonin thought as he looked at the large sack in front of him. A minute later, 3 Anbu ninjas that was a part of his unit appeared in front of him with another large sack. Status report, he said in a serious tone at his team. Cage-sama and Temari-sama managed to escape due to Kankuro-sama's sacrifice. One of the Anbu reported. I see, Baki sighed while lowering his head. Did you get all the secret scrolls and the money from the secret vault? He asked after composing himself. Yes, Baki-sama, another ninja replied, but is it wise to also give them the Sandame's Hijutsu, secret technique? He inquired from his leader. The Sandame's Hijutsu was originated from the former holder of Shukaku before Gaara. As the cage and my former student, I believe he is worthy to possess it. Baki answered with pride. But Baki-sama, if the council finds out what you've done, you'll be executed. The third ninja said with worry. If that is my fate, then so be it. My loyalty lies with the cage, not the council. He said fearlessly. We understand, Baki-sama. We are with you until the end. The three Anbu responded in unison. A small smile crept up Baki's face as he handed them a letter scroll which the three Anbu placed in the sack. Thank you, my men. Now go, he said quietly, and the Anbu took the other sack and disappeared. After his men vanished, another Anbu team followed by the Windlord arrived a short time later. You disappoint me, Baki-san. Not very wise, the Lord said in a menacing tone after finding out what the Jonin did. Silence. What the hell do you know of being a shinobi, you council worm? Baki blasted in an even more menacing tone. Enough of this. Prepare to be executed for treason, he said, ordering the Anbu team to attack the Suna Jonin. Baki simply smirked at the government worm. A true shinobi is not afraid of death, my lord. I am ready to pay for my sins, he told him with conviction as he formed a Kei's no Yeba, blade of wind, in his hand. But if I'm going to hell, I'm going to take you with me, he roared as he jumped into the fray, accepting his undeniable fate. Konoha. The Godem Hokage Tsunade and several Anbu stood over the many bodies of the villagers that were killed by Naruto. This is horrible. Who could have done this? She thought to herself with a hand over her mouth in disbelief. Even though she overcame her fear of blood with Naruto's help, it still made her a little queasy. Hokage-sama, I found something over here, one of the Anbu guards yelled. Show me, she ordered. The guard walked over and handed the platinum kunai to the female Sannin. As soon as she held it, the blood drained from her face and she frowned. Naruto, she thought somberly. She knew that the seal holding the Kyuubi was unstable, and that's why she gave the blonde ninja some time off. But she never thought that this of all things would happen. Hokage-sama, what's wrong? The Anbu guard asked, noticing the melancholic look on her face. Uzumaki Naruto did this, Tsunade answered in a low tone of voice. How do you know? Another guard asked. Tsunade lifted the kunai to show to the guard. This is the platinum kunai I gave him when he won the Chunin exams several months ago. She replied. What are your orders, Hokage-sama? The Anbu who gave the kunai to her asked. The legendary sucker turned her back away from the Anbu guards and let out a heavy sigh. Send 2 Anbu teams to search for him. I want him brought back to Konoha alive. The female Sannin ordered with emphasis on the word, alive. And if he resists? An Anbu asked. Tsunade lowered her head and shut her eyes tightly, trying her hardest not to cry. Then do what you must, she responded quietly, but with enough volume for the ninjas to hear. Yes, Hokage-sama, they all said, knowing their Hokage wanted to be left alone at the moment. As soon as they disappeared to carry out their orders, the Anbu captain Ibiki walked up to her. Come with me, Hokage-sama. There is something you need to see, he said. Tsunade nodded without saying a word and followed him to the villager that was sliced in half. He knelt down and flipped one part of the body to the front side so that they can see his face. When she saw it, her eyes widened in shock. This is Shingo from Anbu Group 2. Why is he in regular clothes? Tsunade yelled. That's what I was wondering. He was supposed to be on duty today, Ibiki replied as he rubbed his chin. That's not all. Take a look at this, he said as he removed the mask of the Anbu whose throat was slit. This caused her brow to furrow. Tenkai, also from Group 2, she said with anger rising in her voice. Tsunade and Ibiki both knew that the Anbu guarding the village always traveled in pairs, and that Shingo and Tenkai always worked together. Seeing only one dressed for duty in this situation was unnerving to the two, to say the least. Even though she was known as the legendary sucker due to her poor skills at gambling, there were times when Tsunade would win. And when she did, she knew that trouble was on the horizon. Ibiki, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Tsunade asked with a hard voice. Yes, he simply replied. They both knew that villagers weren't the only ones that hated Naruto. It wouldn't be the first time a Konoha ninja tried to take the young man's life, and Anbu guards were no exception to the fact. Naruto was set up. I can feel it in my bones, the beautiful blonde thought angrily. Ibiki, call all members of Anbu Group 2 as well as Shingo and Tenkai's family and friends and interrogate them. Use whatever means necessary, Tsunade ordered. Yes, Hokage-sama, Ibiki replied with a sadistic smile on his face. But Hokage-sama, no matter what I find in my interrogation, the council is still going to consider the kid an S-ranked criminal, he added, remembering fondly when he met the hyperactive ninja in the past. I know, she said sadly. Ibiki frowned and left to carry out his mission. Tsunade lifted her head to look at the cloudy sky as the rain continued to fall. Tears started to cover her face as they joined together with the rain. She knew no matter what happened, Naruto would be forever damned by Konoha even if the truth was revealed. This made her cry even harder, for she felt in her soul that she would never be able to tell him the secret she kept hidden in her heart. Koichi, in the end, I'm still a coward. She sobbed, looking up at the sky, covering her heart with her hands. Fire, wind, country border. Gaara and Temari had been running for hours until they reached the border of fire country. They didn't sense any Suna ninjas following them, so they decided to stop and rest for a while. As soon as they did, Temari curled into a ball with her arms hugging her knees and cried over the loss of their brother. Kankuro, I can't believe he's gone. She bawled between her knees. Gaara frowned dismally as he watched his elder sister drown in her sorrow. All he could do was walk to her and place a comforting hand on her shoulder. We won't forget his sacrifice, he said in as comforting a voice as he could. Don't worry, Temari. Naruto, Tayuya-chan and the others at Konoha will help us, he added, trying to give her hope. Naruto-kun. As soon as she heard his name, the pain in the wind mistress' heart lessened a bit. It made her chuckle inwardly at how the fellow blonde had become so important in her life. When Temari first met Uzumaki Naruto, she thought that he was just a stupid genin trying to pick a fight with Kankuro. Even though her brother was the one who initially started the fight by picking up Konohamaru by the scruff of his neck. And like most girls in Konoha, she became slightly infatuated with the raven-haired Uchiha Sasuke when he caught the puppet master off guard. However, throughout the course of the Chunin exams, she would learn that what you see with your eyes alone isn't always the truth. And the hyperactive ninja was no exception. The first time was when they took the written exam. Although she would never admit it, the test along with Ibiki's tactics were starting to create doubt in her. But when Naruto stood up to him during the 10th question, he inadvertently gave the other genins left courage and inspiration, Temari included. It was then that he earned her respect. The second was during the preliminary battles. When Temari decimated Tenten during their match, Naruto thought that she was scary, but at the same time he admired and respected her strength. Later on during Naruto's match with Kiba, she didn't think that he would win along with the others. Even though he earned her respect, she still thought he was weak. She was proven wrong. No matter how times he got knocked down, or how many times he got assaulted by Kiba's Gatsuga, double piercing fang, and Shikyaku no Jutsu, 4 legs technique, Naruto persevered. And with his ingenuity of his jutsus, along with his unpredictability, he succeeded in defeating Kiba. Though Temari can't help but laugh when she thinks about his gaseous episode which caused the dog boy's demise. It was then that a small spark was lighted in the kunoichi's heart. The next was during the finals when the blonde shinobi faced the genin most considered a genius, Hyuga Neji. Temari had heard about the strength and skill of the branch member of the Hyuga clan. And once again, she doubted that the young man she underestimated once before would be able to beat Konoha's last year's #1 rookie. She was once again proven wrong. In the beginning of the match, the battle took its toll on Naruto, especially with Neji's skill in the Jukin, gentle fist, style and his Hakesho Kaden, 8 trigrams palms heavenly spin, defense. When the Hyuga prodigy used his Hake Rokuhuyan Sho, 8 trigrams 64 palms, which effectively closed off all of Naruto's Tenketsu, chakra points, everyone thought that the match was done. But the blonde-haired shinobi just wouldn't quit, despite the debilitating attack. Through sheer force of will, and a little assistance from Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto came back from the edge of defeat. And with a vicious left-handed uppercut, he beat Neji, proving to him and to everyone that day he was not bound by the hands of fate. It was then that the spark in Temari's heart became a flame. She respected, admired, and envied the ninja who almost always had a smile on his face. But she couldn't think about that now because she was a kunoichi of the sand first and a young woman second. And she had a mission to accomplish. Little did the wind mistress know how much that mission would change her and Gaara forever. During the sound invasion, Naruto clashed with the one person Temari feared the most in her 15 years of life, her little brother. The demon container who struck fear in the hearts of all the people of Suna. The red-haired boy who was constantly being targeted by assassins sent by his own father, the Yondaime Cage. One of those assassins being the one Gaara trusted the most, his uncle Yashimaru. His words and betrayal along with Shukaku helped Gaara become the merciless killer he was at that time. In essence, he and Naruto were two sides of the same coin, something which even the spiky blonde himself admitted to. Despite the fears Naruto had when he found out the truth about him, he stood and faced the Master of Sand and the demon inside him to save the lives of his teammates, even though he knew it could very well cost him his life. As Temari watched helplessly as the two fought, a part of her that was deep inside her heart, the part of her that was a young woman, wished that the blonde ninja who she came to admire, respect and envy would protect her like he protected his crush. A girl who showed no interest in him, but that he still cared for, Haruno Sakura. Despite those feelings, when Shukaku was fully awakened, the kunoichi did the only thing she could do, she ran. Sabaku no Temari, the strong, confident and proud kunoichi of the sand. The wind mistress who once considered Uzumaki Naruto a stupid, weak genin who at that moment was fighting the person that she thought at the time was invincible, ended up running like a coward. It was a reality check that left a bittersweet taste in her mouth. After the battle was finally over and Gaara was finally defeated, Temari and Kankuro came to get their brother and escape. But the Y-Sand kunoichi did something she never thought she would do in her life. She let her mask of confidence fall. And for a few minutes Temari wasn't a kunoichi, she was a young woman who wanted to show her appreciation to someone who gave so much to her in so many ways, even if it was indirectly. Flashback. Let's get going, Temari, Kankuro said exhaustedly while holding his younger brother. Hold on a minute, Kankuro, Temari requested. She started to walk over to Naruto's unconscious body, but was blocked by Sasuke. What are you doing? Get away from Naruto, Sasuke growled at the kunoichi with a kunai drawn in his hand. She took out her fan and the raven-haired boy got into a battle stance. But instead of opening it, she placed it down on the ground, which shocked the Uchiha and her brothers. What the hell are you doing? The puppet master shouted to his elder sister. Stay out of this, Kankuro, she shouted back, which caused her younger brother to shut up as the wind mistress continued walking towards Naruto. Don't worry, Uchiha, I mean you and your friends no harm, the wind mistress said calmly, once again shocking everyone. Sasuke let her pass, but kept his guard up, making sure he was ready to strike her down at any moment. What she did next would shock even her. Temari kneeled down towards the blonde young man and flipped him over so that she was face to face with him. She stared at his face for a moment and gave the unconscious genin a small smile. Then without hesitation, she pressed her lips against his for half a minute before pulling away, causing the young men who witnessed the event jaws to drop. Nobody was expecting her to do that. Even Gaara was surprised, though he didn't show it emotionally. The guys stared at the kunoichi with dumbfounded looks on their faces, but Temari just ignored them as she picked up her fan and started to walk back to her brothers. Uchiha, tell Uzumaki Naruto that Sabaku no Temari gave him her first kiss, and that we'll meet again someday, the wind mistress told Sasuke. And with that message delivered, they headed back to Suna. As they walked back after Gaara apologized for his actions, Kankuro couldn't help but question his sister. Temari, why did you kiss that little brat? He asked boldly. Temari glared at him angrily as if to tell him, it's none of your business. The puppet master visibly gulped and quickly turned his head away, not saying another word. Uzumaki Naruto, I hope we meet again someday, Temari thought happily as a small smile and blush crossed her face. End flashback. Truth be told, Temari didn't understand herself why she gave a boy she barely knew her first kiss. But then she remembered something her mother taught her as a child. Kurora was a strong kunoichi, which was one of the reasons the Cage fell in love with her. But despite her duties as the wife of the ninja leader of Suna, she always had time for her children until those tragic times with Gaara. No matter how strong you become as a kunoichi, you will always be Temari. The life of a ninja is a dangerous one that can easily lead to your death. But as long as you survive and stay true to yourself and what you feel in your heart, your place in heaven will be assured. At least, that's what I believe, her mother once said. Temari didn't understand what she meant at the time. But when she kissed Naruto, it was as clear as his cerulean blue eyes. Even though he was a ninja who everybody thought was an idiot, He always stayed true to himself and what was in his heart, and it always led him to victory as well as kept a smile on him. That was the most important lesson he taught to her, and she would always be grateful to him for that. It was then that the flame became a strong fire. She had no regrets giving the young man her first kiss. And the fact that he helped Gaara into the light and removed the fear she had against him made her feelings for Naruto even stronger. After their recovery and Sarutobi's funeral, Sasuke relayed the Sand Kunoichi's message to Naruto. Once he recovered from the shock that a girl actually kissed him, a fact which even his teammates couldn't believe, he thought about her often. Like Temari, he wanted to meet her again and ask her why she kissed him. Unfortunately, their next meeting would be one surrounded by tragedy. Sasuke betrayed Konoha and went to the snake Sannin Orochimaru in his quest for power and revenge against his elder brother, turning his back on the village and his friends. Naruto gave his word to Sakura that he would bring him back, but he failed to do so. It was the first time in his life that he broke his promise to his precious people. The fact that he couldn't save someone he considered a brother devastated him and his Nindo. But strangely enough, the day when he woke up and told Sakura of his failure, it would become a day of both sorrow and joy to the blonde ninja. And it began when Temari came to see him. Flashback. As Naruto looked out of the window of his hospital room with a depressed look on his face, Temari looked at him with a mix of sadness, compassion and pity. She quietly walked over and sat next to him at the edge of his bed. "How are you feeling, Naruto?" she asked quietly. "I've been better, Temari," he replied, his voice a little hoarse. The wind mistress frowned as she looked at the dry tears on his face. She knew he had been crying, and it truly pained her to see him like this. She cupped his face with her hands and moved his head so he could look at her in the eyes. "The Uchiha made his choice. What happened isn't your fault, so don't be so hard on yourself," Temari said comfortingly. Naruto lowered his head slightly. Even though he knew what she said was true, his failure still hurt. However, her words did make him feel a little better. "You're right, Temari, but I made a promise to Sakura that I would save him. I never go back on my word, and yet." He drifted off, lowering his head further. Temari took his hand and gave it a gentle squeeze which caused the spiky blonde to gasp and look at her. "The world is not as simple as we want it to be," she said softly. "Huh? What do you mean?" he asked, looking confused. "Well, take me for example. When I first came here to this village, the only thing I cared about was the mission and defeating Konoha as Asuna Kunoichi, not caring who got in my way." She chuckled a little while smirking at him. "Now look at me. I gave my first kiss and I'm now holding the hand of a 12-year-old loudmouth ninja who was once my enemy, but who I now would like to get to know better," she said, trying hard not to blush. "Temari?" Naruto said, completely stunned at her words as his face became as red as a beet. Temari smiled warmly at him and gave his hand another squeeze. She decided to lower her mask once again for him and be true to herself. "Naruto, when I first met you, I thought you were just an annoying loudmouth baka who was nothing but talk," she said truthfully. He rubbed the back of his head and grinned at her. "You have no idea how many people tell me that." He laughed loudly. "I'm sure I can guess baka," she said teasingly. "Hey," he said in mock anger. They both started to laugh and Temari continued. "Anyway, I was wrong about you. You're not only strong, but you got heart. And it was that heart of yours that helped save Gaara, your village and my family. And that's how I know you'll save your teammate someday," Temari said, giving her fellow blonde another squeeze of his hand. "Temari?" Naruto said, trying to choke back a sob as tears started to sting his eyes. The wind mistress let go of his hand and pulled him into a gentle hug which Naruto quickly returned as he wrapped his arms around her waist. "Thank you," he mumbled into her chest. "No, Naruto-kun, thank you. I'll always be grateful to you for what you did for me and my family," Temari said softly, stroking his spiky hair. The added suffix to his name combined with her stroking his hair caused his face to heat up. They stayed holding each other for a few more minutes until they released their embrace and looked into each other's eyes. Temari drowned in his cerulean blues, while Naruto was entranced by her soft teal eyes. She got up off the bed and turned to look at him. "Get some rest, Naruto-kun. You're going to need it for the battles to come," the wind mistress said as she started to leave the room. It was at that point that Naruto decided to drop his mask and do something that would probably get him clobbered by the Suna Kunoichi. He didn't think a moment like this would come again and he had to take a risk. With surprising speed, he grabbed Temari's wrist and pulled her to the bed with such force that she was sprawled on it with her face looking up at him. "Naruto-kun, what are you doing?" Temari yelled, still shocked by his actions. He lowered his head so that their faces were a few inches apart. This caused the kunoichi to blush a deep crimson. "Forgive me, Tima-chan, but since you gave me your first kiss, can I give you one?" he asked with almost a whisper. The way he said it with such gentleness, as well as the nickname he just made for her, made Temari melt. "Yes, Naruto-kun," she replied breathlessly. That was all he needed as he lowered his head until their lips brushed together. It wasn't anything extreme. There were no clashing of tongues or banging of teeth. It was just a gentle, soft and chaste kiss. But it had so much meaning to the both of them. The blonde duo felt that they weren't kissing each other's lips, they were kissing each other's souls. She wrapped her arms around his neck while he wrapped his arms around her waist, slowly deepening the kiss in the process. It was then they both knew that they didn't need their masks when they were together. They also knew that this wonderful kiss would not be their last. End flashback. After he decided to leave Konoha for 2.5 years with Jiraiya to train, Naruto and Temari decided that they would start dating when he returned. When he came back, the Sand Kunoichi was anxiously waiting for him and she was pleased with the way he looked. Not only was Naruto slightly taller than her, but he was more muscular and mature, changing him from cute to Y in the Wind Mistress's eyes. He was also pleased with the way Temari looked with her curves and Y black battle kimono, though he missed her cut-off top and skirt that she used to wear. The best thing to him though was that she was much more open to him. They say that absence makes the heart grow fonder, and it was very evident with the blonde duo when they reunited. They immediately went on their first date after Kakashi's test. They had a nice dinner at Ichiraku and told stories about what they've been doing for the past couple years. They finished with a romantic walk through the park while the stars shined like diamonds in the clear night sky. At the end of their date, Naruto surprised Temari with a sasayuri, her favorite flower. She gladly rewarded him with a kiss containing all the passion she could muster. A kiss which he happily returned, causing the kunoichi's knees to buckle slightly. They weren't ninjas at that moment, they were just a young man and a young woman who loved one another and who could be true to themselves in their presence. After Gaara and Naruto became best friends after the incident with Akatsuki, the blonde duo's love for each other grew even more. Temari and Tayuya buried the hatchet with each other thanks to Naruto's help and became friends, though the two proud kunoichis do argue every now and then. Afterwards, Tayuya and Gaara hooked up and the young Kage gave Temari and Naruto his blessing with their relationship. But not without a, "If you hurt my sister, I'll kill you," speech. Whenever they had free time from missions and Temari was in Konoha after her liaison duties with Shikamaru, they spent time together and their intimacy alternated from passionate kissing to heated make-out sessions. And they truly loved every minute of it. Temari cried for a little longer until she finally stood up and looked away from Gaara, feeling slightly ashamed and embarrassed for breaking down like that. The ex-Kage turned his head to the right, sensing something familiar. "I sense a familiar chakra. I'm going to investigate." "Wait here," he said. "Be careful, Gaara," Temari said with a sore voice from all the crying. "Don't worry," Gaara said softly, putting his hand on her shoulder again to confirm he was going to be just fine. He left a minute later. Gaara ran towards the source of the chakra. He heard the clash of metal and a scream. When he finally reached the sound, he saw a blonde ninja and a ruby-haired kunoichi with their backs to each other surrounded by 6 Anbu soldiers as one Anbu fell to the ground, the victim of a Rasengan, spiraling sphere, in the chest. That's Tayuya-chan and Naruto. Why are they fighting the Konoha Anbu? Gaara thought to himself curiously. Gaara knew how much the villagers hated and feared Naruto, just like he was hated and feared in Suna when the blonde-haired ninja told him and Temari about the Kyuubi. Whatever the reason was for the Anbu to attack his two precious people, he knew it wasn't good and he knew he had to help them. He started making hand seals to prepare himself to attack. "Surrender or die, demon brat and sound bitch. You can't beat the 6 of us," a smug Anbu yelled. "You think you can take us, you Anbu assholes? Just try it, motherfuckers." Tayuya spat venomously. "You're making things worse, Tayuya-chan," Naruto whispered, trying to figure out a way to escape. "Well, if you've got a goddamn idea on how to get us out of this mess, I'm listening," she whispered back to him as the Anbu soldiers stalked closer to the two. It was then that Naruto sensed a familiar chakra that was getting stronger with each passing second. Ryuusei Bakuryu, quicksand in the style of a waterfall. A voice shouted. That was Gaara's voice. Naruto and Tayuya thought simultaneously. Rock Lee had told Naruto about this powerful jutsu, and he knew what was coming. Picking up Tayuya and quickly adding chakra to his feet to increase his speed, he jumped as fast as he could to the tallest tree as the wave of sand completely enveloped the Anbu. Gaara quickly jumped down from the area where he hid and slammed both of his hands palm down into the sand. Sabaku Taiso, Desert Imperial Funeral. He yelled as he created a powerful shockwave that compressed the sand, crushing all 6 Anbu soldiers. Gaara called back the sand to his gourd while Naruto and Tayuya jumped down from the tree to greet him. Thanks for the save, Gaara. Naruto said loudly with a smile as he put Tayuya down. That's what friends are for. Gaara said nonchalantly, returning his best friend's smile. Tanuki-kun. Tayuya squealed as she ran to the red-haired boy and embraced him in a hug, joyfully nuzzling his chest. Gaara gladly returned it while sporting a light blush on his cheeks. I've missed you too, my Hidama-chan. Hidama, fireball. He said softly while lifting Tayuya's head so he could look into her brown eyes. They stared at each other for a moment until the master of sand captured the flutist's lips in a deep and fiery kiss, causing her to moan softly in his mouth. Naruto couldn't help but chuckle quietly to himself as he watched the two kiss. If anybody who knew them nearly 4 years ago wrote a list of impossible things that would happen to these two, falling in love with each other would be on top of the list. Sabaku no Gaara was a merciless and nearly insane killer, while Tayuya was the flute-wielding psycho of the Sound Four, who along with Orochimaru nearly destroyed Konoha. But because of Naruto's influence, they were no longer who they were. It was this blonde-haired, unpredictable loudmouth of a ninja that brought these two wounded souls together. And they would always appreciate him for that. After the two redheads broke the kiss for air, Tayuya was the first to speak. What are you doing here, Tanuki-kun? Naruto-kun and I was just on our way to visit you. She asked. Same here, Tayuya-chan. He replied quietly. Gaara, did something happen in Suna? Where's Tima-chan and Kankuro? Naruto questioned. Yeah, where is that clown-ass-looking brother of yours? It's been a while since I made fun of him and his dollies. Tayuya added, chuckling. Gaara lowered his head and looked away from the two. Naruto immediately frowned, sensing that something was wrong. What's wrong, Tanuki-kun? Tayuya asked worriedly as she gently touched his cheek. Gaara looked back at his ruby-haired girlfriend and gave her a sad smile. I'll explain along the way. He replied calmly as he jumped into the trees. Naruto and Tayuya looked at each other with a frown as they caught up with Gaara. He filled them in on what happened at Suna and Kankuro's fate, while Naruto explained what happened at Konoha and why the Anbu attacked them. Needless to say, they now knew that the four of them were all in the same boat. A few minutes later, they arrived to where Temari was waiting. Tima-chan. Naruto called to the wind mistress as he landed. Naruto-kun, you're here. Temari yelled back as she ran to him with tears in her eyes and embraced him tightly, quickly burying her head into his chest. He held her gently while stroking her hair and back. Gaara told me what happened to Kankuro. I'm so sorry, Tima-chan. He said in a gentle voice. Thank you, Naruto-kun, Temari said quietly in his chest. Pulling back slightly so he could look at her, Naruto cupped Temari's face, looking into her tear-filled eyes. He gave Temari a soft and compassionate smile before closing in and kissing her gently as he used his calloused thumbs to wipe her tears away. She moaned softly in his mouth as the kiss combined with his gentle touch worked as a salve to heal the pain in her heart. Naruto pulled away and looked into her teal eyes once more. Temari gave him a small smile and leaned her head on his chest, taking in his warmth. Come on, let's find somewhere safe where we can rest for the night, Naruto said in a serious tone as he lifted his koishi in his arms, carrying her bridal style. Tayuya and Gaara nodded in agreement. Temari nodded as well as she wrapped her arms around Naruto and snuggled into his chest, allowing her boyfriend to carry her. The rain stopped shortly afterwards as they headed deep into the woods. A few hours later, when they were far away from either Konoha or Suna, the group of ninja stopped when Naruto spotted a dry open area. This looks like a good spot to rest, Naruto said as he put Temari down gently. He took a few steps forward, cracking his knuckles as if getting ready to do something. What are you going to do? Gaara asked curiously. You'll see, Naruto replied with a grin. Everybody stand back, the blonde ninja bellowed. The three moved back several steps while he performed a number of hand seals, slamming his hands on the ground when he was done. Mokuton. Shichuka no Jutsu, wood release, 4 pillars house technique. He yelled as a fully formed wooden house started to grow out of the ground. But instead of the Konoha emblem on the house, Naruto's Uzumaki spiral appeared instead. Welcome to Hotel Uzumaki, make yourself at home, he said in his boisterous tone. Gaara groaned at him while the Kunoichis just rolled their eyes and laughed. Naruto laughed with them before setting up the perimeter with the Fubaku Hojin, sealed bomb square release, that Haruka had taught him so that they would have some defense. Before they walked inside, however, 3 Anbu guards from Suna appeared. Sand Anbu. Temari hollered as she pulled out her fan while the others got ready for battle. Don't move, take one step, and I'll blow you bastards up, Naruto roared while preparing to activate the explosive tags. Kazekage-sama, Temari-sama, please wait a moment. We mean you no harm. One of the Anbu cried out, making sure not to move. And why should we fucking believe you Anbu shitheads? Tayuya shouted back as she brought her flute to her mouth. Wait Tayuya-chan, Gaara ordered raising a hand. The flutist put her instrument down and Gaara took a few steps toward the ninjas with his sand swirling around them. What do you want with us? Gaara asked with a slightly raised tone in his voice. We are here to give these packages to you Kazekage-sama, by order of Baki-sama. The head Anbu replied. Baki-sensei? Temari asked with a raised eyebrow. Yes, Temari-sama. There is a letter scroll inside explaining everything. The third Anbu answered. Gaara used his sand to take the packages from the Anbu and laid it down behind him. Naruto used his keen sense of smell courtesy of Kyuubi, while Tayuya used her sharp hearing to sense for traps or explosive tags that were activated. They both gave Gaara the thumbs up, signaling that they were none while he nodded in response. Tayuya-chan, find the letter scroll and read it, Naruto requested of his best friend. Tayuya nodded in compliance and found the scroll on top of the packages. She started to read it out loud. To Gaara and Temari, if you are reading this letter, then my men have gotten the packages to you, which means that you escaped safely. This is my final act as your former sensei. Inside the packages you'll find all your personal belongings and the money that you saved from your missions, as well as the usual ninja weaponry just in case. I heard about what happened to Kankuro from my team. I offer my sympathies as an unofficial member of your family. Temari, your mother Karora was a wind element user just like you are. You have learned many techniques from the fan she gave you. However, there are special techniques that your mother possessed that you have not yet learned. At Karora's request, she told me to give you the hidden, secret, scrolls when I felt that you were ready. They're inside the package. When you find a place to belong, learn the techniques that your mother possessed. They will be difficult to master. But once you do, you will truly become the wind that can blow away those who stand in your way of happiness. Gaara, as you may have heard, the Sandaime Kazekage created a jutsu that was based on technique used by a former container of Shukaku known as Satetsu, iron sand. Chio and that Konoha med nin who saved Kankuro, Haruno Sakura were almost killed with this technique by Sasori of the red sand. Although the Sandaime was converted to a puppet by the madman, he created a hidden scroll of this technique and sealed it in the vaults of past Kazekages. As a former container of the one-tailed demon, and as the Godem Kazekage, I am giving this scroll to you with my blessings. I know you'll use it well and may even learn new techniques from it. In addition, I have also given you hidden scrolls of jutsus that was used by your father, the Yondaime Kazekage. I know you and your sister can never forgive him for what he did to you and your mother, but that shouldn't stop you from protecting what's dear to you. Finally, I would like to apologize to the both of you since I will be unable to do so in person. I found out about the coup the Wind Country Lord and the Council was planning only recently. By the time I found out about it, there was nothing I could do to stop it. It seems that after our defeat by Konoha and Orochimaru's treachery, the Council no longer deemed me trustworthy enough to keep me in their inner circle. Once the Lord finds out about my assistance to you, I know that I will be executed. As a proud shinobi of the sand, I have no regrets to the decisions I've made in my life. However, as a human being and as a man, I do have a few. My first is that deep down, I always had doubts of the trustworthiness of Orochimaru and his sound ninja. I wanted to bring Suna back to greatness so badly, that my loyalty and ambitions blinded me to the truth. I told a Konoha ninja named Genma that I didn't care who was behind this invasion when I faced him. But deep in my heart, I knew that was a lie, and it cost us many comrades and caused your family and our country to suffer for it. I became a pawn in Orochimaru's game of chess without even knowing it, and I selfishly told both of you to harden your hearts, not caring about your feelings or the consequences of telling you such a thing. And for that, I am truly sorry. My next regret was when I killed that proctor from the Chunin exams, Gekko Hayate, as a gesture of goodwill to Kabuto and Orochimaru. Death is always a part of the shinobi way, and I have taken the lives of many ninjas. But after our defeat, his death plagued on mind and my heart. It once again showed that I was just a pawn in that snake bastard's game, and it left a sour taste in my mouth. When you get to Konoha, tell Tsunade-sama to inform Hayate's family and loved ones that Baki of Suna begs their forgiveness in the shinobi's needless death. I'm sure that they will not forgive me, but if they do, give them my thanks and tell them that I've been punished for it. My last and worst regret was a promise I made to Kurore a long time ago. She was a good friend to me, and I promised her before she died that I would look after her children, especially Yugara. But I broke that promise and did the same thing your father and the Council of Suna did. I used you as a weapon. I am ashamed to admit that, like your uncle Yashimaru, I hated you for a time and was tempted to take your life. But I'm glad I didn't, because you two and Kankuro became as important to me as if you were my own children after Gaara became Case Cage. I wish I had gotten the chance to tell you that in peaceful times, but that will never happen now. I have two last requests to make of you two, as a ninja and as a man. The first is that I ask of you is to let my men go free. They were only following my orders and were not part of the Wind Lord's coup. Tell Nokizaru, Kanbei, and Komura that I thank them from the bottom of my heart for their loyalty, even though they will never see their homeland again. I wish them well on whatever path they choose to go with their life. Last but not least, I would like you to tell Uzumaki Naruto that I give him my thanks for doing the one thing I could not do for you both, and that's make you happy. They say that defeat makes you humble and that it helps you reflect back on the mistakes you made. Needless to say, that boy has not only changed you two but me as well, even though I've never met him directly. I wouldn't have done what I did for you two if it wasn't for him. Even if he doesn't become Hokage, Naruto is truly destined for great things. Do not be sad or shed tears for me. I've lived in Suna all my life, and I will die there with honor. The best way you can honor me is to live and survive, no matter how painful the world may be. I know that you two will not be alone on your journey. May Kami and Kazejin, the god of wind, protect you on your path to find the place where you belong. Baki of Suna. After Tayuya put away the letter, the whole camp was silent. Nobody knew what to say or feel after Baki's soul-bearing letter. Not only as a shinobi of the sand, but as a human being. As if Kami was responding to the letter, they all felt a warm breeze pass over them on this somewhat cold night. A few minutes later, the three sand Anbu removed their masks and crushed them under their feet. They held no ill will towards their leader and friend. What will you do now? Temari asked the three ex-sand shinobis. They started talking amongst themselves and turned to face the four of them. We've decided to travel and find our place in this world just like you. Nokizaru replied. Hey, why don't you come with us? The more the merrier. Naruto said to the three of them. We appreciate the offer, but we'll travel on our own. Kanbei said with a smile. Sorry for the trouble. Gaara apologized to them with a frown on his face. It's no trouble at all, Kasukage-sama. It was an honor to serve you. Nokizaru said, waving his hand. Thank you. And please call me Gaara. He said with a smile. The three ninjas nodded, happy that they were parting as friends and equals. May Kami and Kazejin, god of wind, protect you on your journey. The three said simultaneously while bowing. Thanks guys. Take care and watch your asses out there. Maybe we'll meet again someday. Tayuya told them while giving them a smile. I'm sure we will. Komura said quietly, and they disappeared in a wave of sand, heading to parts unknown. After they left, the four went inside the wooden house. They sifted through the packages to see what they had. After taking a swift inventory, they deduced that they had enough money to last them for a long time due to Naruto's savings, and what Gaara and Temari kept locked away from not only their missions, but the Master of Sand's role as Case Cage. The two also looked at the hidden scrolls briefly, but decided to honor Baki's request and wait until they found a safe place to call home. After putting everything back in place, they left out the map and 4 of Naruto's big ramen bowls so they could eat. Naruto and Temari went to get wood and water for drinking in the ramen bowls, while Tayuya and Gaara set up the sleeping bags and the pot to boil the water. Naruto and Temari. As Naruto went to find dry wood, Temari filled up the water bottles at a nearby lake. So much has happened today. Kankuro and Baki-sensei are dead. The 4 of us have no home to go back to. And now we've become Nukanen. Temari thought depressingly while filling up the water bottles. She suddenly put them down and pulled her fan all the way out so that 3 stars were showing. With an enraged roar, she started swinging it back and forth in frustration, breaking trees and branches and causing ripples in the water. After a few minutes, she stopped and panted hard and finally put it away. In her mind, she never felt so weak in her life. Damn it, I was one of the most powerful kunoichis in Suna. So why do I feel so useless? She yelled out into the night sky. Hey, at least you don't have a biju-tailed demon inside of you, Tima-chan. A voice from behind her said. Temari gasped and turned around to see Naruto looking at her with a warm smile and a bundle of dry wood in his hands. Naruto-kun, how long have you been there? The blonde woman asked nervously. Since you used your fan to change the view of the forest. Her fellow blonde replied with his trademark grin. Temari's face became flushed in embarrassment. Naruto laughed at her for a moment before looking at her with a sad smile. This bastard fox inside of me is the most powerful of the bijus. As much as I hate him, he has saved my butt countless times from death. He's even let me go toe-to-toe with that snake bastard. He let out a heavy sigh before continuing. But even with everything I've accomplished, even after saving the village that has hated me since my birth because of something I had no control over, I still couldn't earn their respect. And now I never will. My dreams, like yours, are shattered and can never be repaired, no matter what we do. Naruto finished with another sigh. Naruto-kun, Temari didn't know what to say as she lowered her head in shame. Here she was complaining about her own situation, while not considering the pain of the others. It made her feel selfish and low. She began to shiver as a chill wind blew through the forest. Naruto saw this and put the dry wood down on a rock. He took off his jacket and placed it on his girlfriend's shoulders, wrapping his arms around her waist and kissing her on the forehead. She looked at her boyfriend and gave him a warm smile for the chivalrous act. It's okay, Tima-chan, you don't have to say anything. I know exactly how you feel. But despite everything that's happened to us, at least we're alive and together. Naruto said softly while returning her warm smile. Temari's eyes started to water once again and she cried silently, burying her head into his chest once more. They stayed like that for several minutes before the spiky blonde lifted her head, giving her a gentle kiss and wiping her tears away like before. Don't cry, my Kirei Yuri, pretty lily, Naruto said in that gentle voice that made her melt years ago after he broke the kiss. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun, she sniffled as a warm blush formed on her face. He kissed her on the forehead once more and smiled. No need to apologize. Even the strongest person cries when they need to. Especially after the crappy day we've had today. The spiky blonde joked. Temari couldn't help but laugh. Naruto always knew how to cheer her up. Thanks, Naruto-kun, I really needed that, she said as she happily gave him a quick kiss as a reward. Anytime, Tima-chan. Come on, let's head back, he said in his usual boisterous voice. Okay, Temari said with a smile. She picked up the water bottles and filled the rest of them before heading back to camp with him. Gaara and Tayuya. While the blonde duo was doing their tasks, Tayuya and Gaara were setting up Hotel Uzumaki for the night. The flutist was setting up the sleeping bags while Gaara bore his sand through a small part of the wooden floor, so he could create a dirt patch. That way they could build a fire inside the camp without the wooden structure burning down. When they were finished, they sat down next to each other and waited for the others to return. Tanuki-kun? Tayuya called to Gaara in a soft voice. What is it, Hidama-chan? Gaara asked as he turned to look at her. She lowered her head for a moment before embracing him and looking into his eyes. Gaara wondered what was wrong and placed his arms around her waist. I'm sorry for making fun of your brother earlier, she said while sadly lowering her head onto his chest. Tayuya felt guilty when she found out about Kankuro's death, and she felt the need to apologize to her boyfriend. Gaara stroked her soft hair gently and gave her a light smile. "Don't worry about it, Hidama-chan. I wasn't bothered by it," he said softly. The ruby-haired girl looked at her, little Tanuki, and smiled. She was glad that Gaara wasn't angry with her. "It's been one fucked up day, hasn't it?" Tayuya sighed. "Yes," Gaara replied while he continued to stroke her hair. "I wonder what kind of shit we're going to expect on our journey together." The flutist thought out loud. The red-haired man pulled away slightly and looked into her eyes. "I don't know," Gaara replied honestly. "But if anyone tries to hurt you, I'll kill them," he added with a serious look on his face. "Thanks Tanuki-kun. That was so fucking romantic." Tayuya laughed with a playful smirk. "Very funny, Hidama-chan," Gaara said with a smile before capturing her lips in a passionate kiss. She wrapped her arms around his neck and brought him down to the floor as she moaned into his mouth, while the master of sand's tongue was searching hers. They made out for a little while longer, stopping just before Naruto and Temari arrived a few minutes later. After they ate the ramen bowls, they sat around the campfire to plan the start of their journey. "So Naruto-kun, what do you think we should do?" Temari asked her blonde companion while the others looked at him, wondering the same thing. "Why don't we explore the world like those sand ninjas are doing?" Naruto suggested. "We'll just travel country to country until we can find a place where we belong," he added. "And what place would that be?" Gaara questioned. "I guess we'll find out when we get there," the spiky blonde replied sheepishly as he rubbed the back of his head. "Besides, this will give me a chance to try out new brands of ramen," he said loudly while pumping a fist into the air. Gaara, Temari and Tayuya looked at Naruto as if he grew a new head. "Are you fucking serious?" Tayuya snapped. "Yeah, it's the only dream I have left," Naruto replied somberly. The others sadly lowered their heads, sympathizing with the one that brought them together. "Sorry Naruto-kun," the flutist said softly. "Ah, don't worry about it," he said smiling warmly at his friends as he tried to break the melancholy. The others lifted their heads and smiled back at him. Even if he was much more mature than when he was 4 years ago, Naruto was still Naruto, they all thought to themselves. "So what do you say, guys?" he asked while looking at the others. "Well, we have no other plan, so let's do that," Gaara replied with a small smile. "Wherever you go Naruto-kun, I'll stand by your side," Temari said cheerfully, taking her fellow blonde's hand and giving it a squeeze. "Same here, partner. I'll kick anybody's ass who tries to hurt you or Gaara-kun," Tayuya shouted. "Hey, what about me, Tayuya?" Temari yelled, glaring at her fellow kunoichi. "Shit, don't look at me, Temari. That's what you got your boyfriend for," the ruby-haired girl replied with a smirk. "Potty mouth," Temari growled. "Sand bitch," Tayuya growled back. They started to argue and glare at each other in a way that would make Sakura and Ino proud. "This is going to be a long journey," the boys thought simultaneously as they groaned at their significant others. After several minutes, the girls turned their heads away from each other with their noses in the air, finishing the heated argument with a resounding humph. Naruto stood up and removed his Konoha Hite 8 forehead protector, and held it over the crackling fire. "Let this be the bond that keeps us together forever. We will find a place where we belong," Naruto said with a strong voice. Gaara, Temari, and Tayuya looked at him and nodded in agreement. Temari got up next. She took off her Suna Hite 8 and placed it on top of her koishis, giving him a warm smile. "A place where we belong," Temari said while beaming at him. Gaara got up next and removed his, placing it on top of his sister's and his best friend. "A place where we belong," Gaara said with a light smile to them. Finally, Tayuya sat up and took off her Hite 8 and slammed it on top of her koishi, best friend and somewhat close friend. "A place where we fucking belong, goddammit," Tayuya shouted to them with fire in her eyes. The ninjas started to glare at her as if she was stupid. "What?" the flutist asked while looking at the others with a confused look on her face. Naruto, Temari and Gaara just shook their heads and sighed. "We're going to need to work on your swearing habit, Tayuya-chan," Naruto replied tiredly. "Fuck you, Naruto-kun," Tayuya said, looking down with her face red with embarrassment. They busted out laughing at the ruby-haired girl a few seconds later. Afterwards, the four tossed their Hite Ates into the fire. From that moment on, they were no longer ninjas of leaf and sand. Just 4 souls searching for the thing we all look for at least once in our lives. A place to call their own. Kami, this is such a fucking pain. Tayuya yelled angrily. Naruto, Temari, and Gaara all nodded in agreement as they were surrounded by a large group of bandits. It has been about a week since they made that vow to find a place to call their own. And surprisingly, it has been uneventful and peaceful since they mainly stayed away from the borders of the 5 great nations. That is until this afternoon, when they accidentally stumbled into some bandits' territory. Can you put them to sleep, Tayuya-chan? Gaara asked calmly. Not all of them at once. I should have asked that glasses-wearing shithead Kabuto to teach me his little genjutsu. She replied annoyingly. Guess we have no choice. Naruto sighed. They got into their battle stances, getting ready to swat the annoying flies. The boss of the bandits was carrying a broadsword and walked up to the group. You 4 are trespassing on our territory. If you want to live, hand over all your valuables. The boss said menacingly. Or you can just leave the women here. It's been a while since we had some fun. He added while licking his lips. The bandits started to laugh at their leader's perverted wit. The 4 ninjas, however, were not pleased at all. Tima-chan? Would you show these perverts your newest trick? Naruto asked with a devilish grin, which Temari gladly returned. With pleasure, Naruto-kun, she replied. The wind mistress jumped high in the air while swinging her fan in a powerful motion and yelled, Kamaitachi no Arashi, storm of the cutting whirlwind. All of the bandits were either sliced up or blown away as hurricane-like winds came out of her fan. When she landed on the ground, the only thing left were several fallen oak trees and chunks of the bandits' bodies that fell from the sky. Now that was the shit. Tayuya shouted, giving her fellow kunoichi a high five. Impressive. Gaara nodded in agreement. Naruto embraced Temari and gave her a quick kiss. That was great. I knew you could take them all out. The blonde ninja cheered proudly. That's enough, you guys. You're making me blush. Temari said as said blush appeared on her cheeks. The 3 just laughed at her, causing the blush to deepen until Naruto sensed killer intent. Get down. Naruto shouted as a rain of kunai coated with red powder rained down upon them. The blonde ninja went behind Temari and shoved her into the ground, covering her body with his. The only thing the wind mistress could hear above her was the small explosions ravaging her Koishi's beloved body while he groaned in pain. Gaara grabbed Tayuya and held her, protecting themselves with his Suna no Tate, shield of sand. Naruto was not so lucky. Are you alright, Tima-chan? The blonde ninja asked weakly while on top of her before collapsing onto the blonde kunoichi. Naruto-kun, Temari and Tayuya yelled in horror. As the blonde kunoichi got out from under him, she looked at his back. They were covered with second-degree burns. Shit, those were fire kunais, Tayuya said. Fire kunais? Gaara asked with his eyes widened. Yeah, Naruto-kun showed them to me once. They're used for throwing because of the special gunpowder it's coated with. Anything that it hits explodes on contact. Tayuya explained. Well, that's one down, a voice suddenly said in the shadows. Temari held onto Naruto and tried to wake him up, while the red-haired duo prepared themselves for battle. Come on out, you cowardly sons of bitches. Tayuya shouted infuriatingly. They appeared in a puff of smoke surrounding the 4 of them. It was a total of 10 men, each wearing crimson fatigues and masks. All of them had a red tarantula tattoo with droplets of red ink below as if they were bleeding. Seeing no Hite 8, forehead protector, on their heads, the master of sand already knew who they were. Mercenaries, Gaara said, glaring at them. Not just any mercenaries. These ugly bastards are the Kumo no Chishio, spiders of blood. Tayuya said with an angry scowl on her face. You know them? Temari asked as she continued to hold Naruto up while his back healed. Not directly. I heard about them from that slimy piece of shit Orochimaru. They're a mercenary group that hunt and kill ninjas who are in the bingo book. They do a lot of dirty ass jobs on the side too. Tayuya answered. Like coming after us. Gaara said. Yeah, that's right. Like Zabuza. These fuckers are very skilled at the Muon Satsujin no Jutsu, silent homicide technique. That damn snake used them a few times before I became a member of the Sound 4. The red-haired kunoichi told them. It's a good thing Naruto-kun's got excellent senses, no thanks to that goddamn fox. Otherwise we would be dead. She added. True, I remember him telling me about Zabuza and the fight he had with him and Haku at the Land of Waves. He took that copy ninja Kakashi to the limit. Temari agreed. Well, you're certainly learned, young lady. I'd expect no less from the ex-Cage's lover and only surviving member of the Sound Four. The leader said, looking at the red-haired Kunoichi. Tayuya just gave him the finger, which caused him to snort at her. In any case, we're here to take Gaara and Temari's head at the request of the Suna Council. You and your blonde friend are just a bonus fee. He added, laughing evilly. Damn it, we don't have time for this. Not while Naruto-kun is still unconscious. Temari thought as the mercs were preparing to attack. Well, enough talk. Kill them, the leader said coldly. With that, the mercs tossed fire kunais at the group. But this time, Gaara was ready for them. Raising a hand in the air, he shouted, Suna Koken, Sand Guardian. And a sand dome immediately covered the four ninjas, protecting them from the assault. Very impressive, Gaara. The leader sneered. Let's see how you handle this. He yelled. All the mercs started doing hand seals and yelled. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu, fire release. Great fireball technique. And started to pummel the shield with multiple balls of flame. It managed to hold, but the sand was starting to heat up, making it very hot and uncomfortable for the group. Those bastards are trying to roast us in here, Temari said as they started to sweat profusely. Like hell they will, Gaara growled. The heat was getting to be unbearable, even for him, and he had had enough. He started to make hand seals quickly and raised his hand in the air, shouting, Doden. Supaika Ishi no Jutsu. Earth release. Stone spiker technique. And slammed the raised hand into the ground. The earth around them started to shake, startling the mercs out of their attack. What is this? One of them asked. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, the earth answered as Gaara's shield started to crumble and showed the ex-Cage looking at them with his infamous evil smile. It was then that spikes came out of the ground at great speed and started to impale the mercs one by one. When the dust cleared, the mercenaries' blood was trickling down to the ground. Did we get them all? Temari asked. Tayuya looked around at the impaled members of the Spiders of Blood. Shit, there are only 9 of them. We're missing the leader. Tayuya replied with her voice in panic. It was then that said leader appeared behind the Wind Mistress and grabbed her by the hair. He pulled her up and away from Naruto while putting a kunai to her throat. Make a move and she's dead, the leader said. Somehow he managed to use Kawarimi no Jutsu, body replacement technique, at the last second to escape the powerful jutsu and then just bided his time until they let their guard down. Needless to say, the red duo knew that he was serious. I can't believe that you managed to kill all my men. Just for that I'm gonna make you suffer before I take your lives. He yelled. Gaara and Tayuya growled menacingly at the merc as he pressed the kunai to Temari's throat and drew blood, causing her to whimper slightly. Let her go, a voice said weakly. What? Who said that? The leader questioned out loud. He got his answer as Naruto stood up while red chakra began to swirl around him fiercely. I said let her go, you bastard. He growled in a feral voice as 3 chakrad tails swung behind him. He had red eyes with black slits in the middle as well as claws and canine-like fangs. Temari looked at her Koichi in horror. Gaara and Tayuya knew about the transformation, but this was the blonde Kunoichi's first time seeing it. And it frightened her. Impossible. How could you have survived all those fire kunais? The merc asked, not realizing the gravity of the situation. The cubified Naruto let out a feral laugh and gave him an evil smirk. Like this, he replied. The earth shook around him and he disappeared, leaving behind a hole in his wake. The leader didn't even get a chance to respond as he was pulled into the ground with only his head showing. That was the Doden. Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu, earth release. Inner decapitation technique, that Kakashi taught him. Tayuya said out loud. Naruto appeared above the trapped mercenary with an evil smirk on his face. I see you like red a lot. So I'm gonna paint you red for hurting Tima-chan. He growled as red chakras swirled into his hand. The leader screamed as the swirling chakra came at his head as Naruto yelled, Kyuubi Rasengan, 9 tails spiraling sphere. The only thing left was a headless merc as blood spilled out of his body, completely covering the demon container. His friends gazed in shock and horror at his actions as he started to laugh maliciously. So this is the power of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, 9-tailed fox. Temari thought as she covered her mouth. Naruto had told her what happened when he lost control and hurt Sakura. but talking about it and seeing it firsthand was an entirely different thing altogether. Shit, even at 3 tails he's this bad. At this rate, Tayuya thought sadly. Temari began to slowly walk to Naruto to calm him down. He sensed her and with a look of ferocity on his face, he swung one of his claws at her, stopping only an inch next to her face. Naruto-kun, stop. The red-haired Kunoichi was about to run to them but Gaara raised a hand to stop her. It's alright Hidama-chan. Hidama, fireball. They can handle it, he said with a look of certainty on his face. Tanuki-kun. Tanuki, raccoon dog. Tayuya said softly as she looked back at the blonde duo. The red chakra continued to swirl around Naruto as it started to slightly shred Temari's kimono. She fearlessly walked closer to him and pulled the spiky blonde into her embrace, holding onto him tightly despite the pain she was feeling. It's alright Naruto-kun. I'm safe now. It's alright, Temari said softly to her Koichi. Slowly the red chakra disappeared and Naruto started to relax into her embrace. Tima-chan, Naruto began to say when he lifted his head to look at her as tears started to fall from his eyes. He realized what he had nearly done and was ashamed at his actions. Tima-chan, she placed a finger on his lips and shook her head. Don't say anything Naruto-kun. It's not your fault what happened. You saved our lives and the battle is over. And that's all that matters. Temari said gently while giving him a warm smile. All Naruto could do was bury himself in her chest and sob, thinking he didn't deserve her kindness. Gaara and Tayuya walked next to him and gently placed a hand on each of his shoulders. You're not alone Naruto-kun. We're with you till the end. Right Tanuki-kun? The red-haired Kunoichi said with a smile. That's right Hidama-chan. Thanks for saving us Naruto. The Master of Sand replied while smiling as well. The spiky blonde lifted his head to look at his precious friends. All of them were looking warmly at him with smiles on their faces. Thank you, Naruto said softly as a small smile crept on his face. He was truly grateful to his new family. A few hours later, the 4 ninjas walked into town weary and tired as the sun started to make its descent into the horizon. They immediately went to the hotel to rest their bodies and minds. How do you feel Tima-chan? Naruto asked outside the hotel with a look of concern. The wind mistress gave him a quick kiss on the lips to calm her boyfriend down. How many times are you gonna ask me? I'm fine Naruto-kun, thanks to you. She replied happily. The blonde ninja hugged her tightly and breathed a sigh of relief. It's a good thing Tsunade-sama taught you the Shozen Jutsu, mystical palm technique. Gaara said. Tayuya nodded in agreement which made Naruto smile. How about you Naruto-kun? Are you okay now? Temari asked quietly as she made little circles on his jacket with her finger. He buried his face in her sandy blonde hair, taking in her scent. Yeah, I'm okay now. Sorry for making all of you worry. Naruto answered softly. Temari pulled back and shook her head. No worries Naruto-kun. I just wish we could lay the smackdown on that evil fox's ass. Tayuya said while punching the air in front of her, causing everyone to laugh. Thanks Tayuya-chan. I'll let that bastard fox know that next time. Naruto said smiling. Alright, enough doom and gloom. It's time to rest up and get some ramen. He yelled pumping a fist in the air. Yeah, the others yelled while joining the blonde ninja's fist pumping. They were glad he was back to his old self. Finally I can take a nice hot bath. Temari yawned as she stretched her arms. Can I join you Tima-chan? Naruto inquired seductively while putting an arm around her shoulders and pulling her close. Only if you behave yourself Naruto-kun. The wind mistress cooed giving him a wink to tease him. He automatically knew what that meant as he started to pout. You're no fun Tima-chan. Naruto whined. The blonde duo started to laugh until the spiky blonde wrapped his arms around Temari's waist and kissed her with as much passion as he could muster. She wrapped her arms around his neck and moaned happily as always. Hey Tanuki-kun, why can't you say nice shit like that to me? Tayuya asked with a slight pout. Do you want to take a bath with a guy who carries sand with him all day Hidama-chan? Gaara questioned back with a smirk. Leave it to you to miss the motherfucking point. The Kunoichi yelled. The Master of Sand just grabbed her and molded Tayuya's lips with his while caressing her soft creamy leg which gratefully shut her up and made the Kunoichi moan happily. Now Hidama-chan, what were you saying? Gaara asked. Nothing Tanuki-kun. Tayuya replied weakly with a glazed look in her brown eyes. That's what I thought, the red-haired man said with a smile on his face. He kissed her passionately once more and the couples continued to make out for a couple more minutes until they finally went inside to check themselves in for the night. The four ninjas washed up and had a pleasant meal at the in-hotel restaurant where Naruto got to try a new ramen flavor that was a specialty in the town they were in before turning in for the night. Temari, Gaara and Tayuya enjoyed a peaceful sleep. Unfortunately, Naruto was not so lucky. The blonde ninja was remembering that rainy day in Konoha. Even though Naruto wasn't aware of what happened until it was too late, the guilt still hung onto his heart like an anchor that was trying to lower him into the sea of despair. He could still feel the blood on his hands and see the corpses surrounding him. Then everything went dark and he appeared in a place the demon container knew all too well. As he stared at the large cage with the paper that had the kanji of the word, seal, on it, a pair of red demonic eyes and sharp teeth appeared behind the large structure. Long time no see, brat. Kyuubi snorted. Not long enough, you damn fox. Naruto growled. The demon fox just laughed at him, amused at the young man's anger. You did a good job killing those weak fools, Kyuubi said, complimenting him. Don't you dare put this on me, you bastard. Because of you, I can never be Hokage. Because of what you did, I no longer have a home. Naruto yelled angrily. Oh really? You can't put the blame entirely on me, you brat. The demon fox roared. In that black corner of your heart, you wanted that to happen. Don't try to deny it. He added. The spiky blonde didn't know what to say. As much as he hated to admit it, what the fox said was partially true. But he didn't want to give the beast the satisfaction by saying there was some truth to his words. Come on. Let's go kill some more humans. Kyuubi suggested as he tried to tempt him. No, you can go to hell for all I care. Naruto bellowed defiantly. The fox just roared with laughter. Why not? Face it, brat, you're a murderer. Just like me. Just like Gaara. Kyuubi laughed as if he was telling him the undeniable truth. Naruto refused to believe it and just squeezed his head with his hands, making it feel like it was in a vice. No, I'm not like you. I'm not like you. Naruto shouted until his eyes opened and he woke up in a cold sweat. All his covers were on the floor as a result of his tossing and turning. He looked at his hand before making a fist. Damn you, fox. I'm not gonna let you beat me. My family and I are going to find a place to belong, and I won't let you have your way. Naruto said quietly while making a vow to himself that he would never lose control again. The spiky blonde got up and went into the washroom to clean the sweat off his face. He then went to the mini fridge and took out a small bottle of sweet plum sake he ordered for room service. Although Naruto only drank it occasionally, he liked the taste of it thanks to Tsunade buying him a bottle for his 16th birthday. He went out to the balcony and sat down in a chair, enjoying the night breeze while pouring the sake into the cup and sipping it slowly. It's hard to get over killing innocent people, said a voice quietly from behind him. Yeah? Naruto agreed somberly while stretching his arm out to pass the sake to his red-haired roommate. Even after all this time, I'm still not fully recovered from what I did, and I probably never will recover from it. Gaara said quietly as he poured some sake in his cup and drank with his first true friend. I know what you mean. No matter how much I wash my hands, I can still smell their blood on me. The spiky blonde said, taking another sip. It will drive you to the edge if you think too much about it. The master of sand said, trying to cheer him up. I know, I just can't help it. Naruto said, looking at him with a sad smile. I understand how you feel. If it wasn't for you, Temari and Kankuro, I would have just kept on killing, trying to vindicate my existence. And now that I have Tayuya in my life thanks to you, I can finally know what love truly is. Gaara said warmly as he gently touched the kanji tattoo that means I, love, on his forehead. The one that he made after that traumatic encounter with his uncle Yashimaru. Gaara, Naruto couldn't help but smile at his brother. If the fiery-haired ninja can enjoy his life with Tayuya, then he could enjoy his with Temari. It gave him hope, knowing that he wasn't alone. Hey, we make a hell of a pair, don't we, brother? He chuckled. We sure do, brother. Gaara chuckled back. Naruto sat up and refilled both of their cups. Hey Gaara, let's make a toast. The spiky blonde requested as he lifted his cup. To what, Naruto? The master of sand asked while standing up and lifting his. To new beginnings, he said loudly. Gaara chuckled again and nodded afterwards. To new beginnings. And with a clink of their cups they downed the sweet alcohol as the sun started to come up. A few hours later, as the sun rose to start a new day, the guys greeted the girls by giving them a passionate morning kiss. Temari and Tayuya wondered why Naruto and Gaara were more cheerful than usual, but after their kiss, which made them both weak in the knees, they couldn't care less. After a delicious and hearty morning breakfast, they left the hotel and headed to a quiet spot in the park to make their plans for their next destination. "So where are we going next, Naruto-kun?" Temari asked. Naruto, the spiky blonde, took out the map and looked for the closest town. "Well, we're running low on tools, so let's head to Kane no Kuni, land of metal," Naruto said. "That's where the most of the metal in the world is made," Gaara said matter-of-factly. "No shit, Gaara-kun," Tayuya said jokingly. "Very funny, Tayuya-chan," Gaara said dryly as the cork popped out of his gourd. His sand came out and started to tickle his girlfriend, causing her to laugh non-stop. "Ha ha 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 ha. All right, Gaara-kun. I yield, I yield." She laughed while rolling on the ground. He smiled victoriously and returned his sand and cork back to his gourd while taking her hand and standing her back up. "You know, for one of the most powerful kunoichis in the world, you submitted mighty quickly to Yuya-chan," Naruto said in a teasing voice, causing Temari to giggle. "Arg, fuck you, Naruto-kun," the flutist yelled as her face flushed in embarrassment. The others just laughed again at Naruto's ability to easily rile the former sound kunoichi. "In any case, I agree with Naruto-kun. Let's head to the land of metal," Temari said. Gaara and Tayuya nodded in agreement. "Okay, but before we go there's one more thing we gotta do here," Naruto said. "What's that, Naruto-kun?" Tayuya asked curiously. "I think we should get all new outfits," he answered. "New outfits?" Gaara asked in confusion. "Yeah, we're too recognizable in what we're wearing now. And I don't know about you, but I want to put the past behind me," the spiky blonde replied with a little bit of sadness at the end. "Naruto-kun," Temari said softly as she looked at her koishi with a sad smile. The wind mistress understood exactly how he felt as she took his hand and gave it a gentle squeeze. "Sounds good to me, Naruto-kun," she said warmly. "Me too, Naruto-kun," Tayuya said, giving her best friend a smile. "Me too, brother," Gaara said, giving him a smile as well. "All right then, let's go," Naruto said loudly while pumping his fist in the air. The others nodded and walked to the shopping district. They went to the largest clothing shop for ninjas and started looking for new outfits for their new selves. "Let's get some cloaks. We may need them to conceal our faces," Naruto said as they walked into the shop. "Yeah, like wearing cloaks won't already make us look suspicious," his girlfriend said sarcastically, causing the red-haired duo to laugh. "You didn't have to say it like that, Tima-chan," the spiky blonde pouted. "Ha ha ha. Sorry, Naruto-kun," she chuckled while kissing him on the cheek as an apology. The four of them split up, with the girls heading to the kunoichi section, while the guys went to the ninja section. An hour later, the four returned to the front of the store ready to pay for their purchases. Tayuya was wearing a magenta battle kimono that stopped at her lower thighs, showing off her cleavage as well as her creamy legs. She still wore the bicycle shorts underneath and had a white obi that was wrapped with a string which held a sheath for her flute in the back, as well as her shuriken and kunai pouch on her left side. She no longer wore the steel hat and had a silver ribbon tying her long red hair into a ponytail. Finally, she wore long black wristbands made of a strong material and red kunoichi boots with bandages wrapped up to her ankles, completely covering her feet. Gaara decided to go with a rebel look, with a black shirt with buttons and the collar up that he left open, showing a white muscle shirt. He wore matching black ninja pants and black ninja boots. The belt that he used to hold up his gourd was replaced with a hard leather one and had many pockets for his tools, while he wore a red scarf on his neck. Temari decided to return to the clothing she wore back when they returned to Konoha to assist in the retrieval of Sasuke. She wore the classic top that was cut at the shoulders, along with the miniskirt and the plate which covered her chest, showing off a little more cleavage than last time, as well as the fishnet stockings on her left knee and right thigh, sandals included. The only difference was that her outfit was a dark teal color. Finally, Naruto's look was vastly different from the orange outfit he used to wear. He still wore his black muscle shirt with the Uzumaki spiral along with Tsunade's necklace, but now he wore a dark cerulean blue jacket and ninja pants as well as black ninja boots like Gaara's. He also wore black fingerless gloves with knuckle holes on top as well as a blue headband. On the back of his jacket was a design of 3 lines going horizontally which was slightly curved at the end, like waves. After they paid for the clothes, they decided to check each other out. Decided to go back to the old school, Tima-chan? Naruto asked with a slightly teasing tone. I just feel more free and comfortable in this. Temari answered honestly. Do you like the new color, Naruto-kun? She asked seductively, walking up to him while moving her hips sensuously. Of course. It reminds me of my first kiss with you. I'm glad that you're wearing my favorite outfit again. It will make stroking your legs even easier when we're alone. Naruto replied honestly in a soft and wry voice as he wrapped his arms around her and caressed her upper thighs. She wrapped her arms around his waist and purred while nuzzling his chest. You always know how to push my buttons, Naruto-kun. The Wind Mistress said with a soft moan as she leaned her head on his chest while he continued to massage her upper thighs with one hand, while giving her behind a quick caress and squeeze with the other. I haven't pushed all of them yet, Kirei Yuri, pretty lily. He whispered in her ear. Temari blushed a deep crimson, knowing exactly what he meant by that, and gave him a playful slap in the face. Anyway, I love your new look, Naruto-kun. It's definitely better than your old one, she said truthfully. The blonde kunoichi released her embrace and looked at the new design on the back of his jacket. It looks like water flowing forward on a current. The Wind Mistress said in regards to the design's look. A current, huh? I'll have to remember that. Naruto thought to himself. Gaara, Tayuya, you both look so cool, he said, admiring his brother and best friend. Glad you like it, Gaara said happily. Thanks, Naruto-kun, Tayuya said joyfully with a small blush on her face. All right then. Next stop, the Land of Metal, he shouted. The Land of Metal, Temari yelled. The Land of Metal, the Master of Sand said. The Land of motherfucking metal, bitch, Tayuya shouted for the whole world to hear. Naruto, Temari and Gaara just sighed in unison. Was that really necessary, potty mouth? Temari said, scolding her. Shut up, sand bitch, Tayuya mumbled as she walked away with a blush on her face. We really need to work on her swearing habit, Naruto said, shaking his head tiredly. Yeah? Temari and Gaara sighed in agreement while walking behind him. Konoha Hokage Tower Interrogation Office. Although it's a sunny day in Konoha, it's not so sunny in an interrogation room in Hokage Tower as the Anbu captain Ibiki questions a member of Anbu Team 2 who is apparently close to Tenkai and Shingo. Although he was on a mission at the time during the bloody incident, according to Ibiki's sources, the 2 guards filled him in on the takedown of the demon brat. Unfortunately, after nearly a day of interrogation, he has refused to talk, even after being threatened to be executed for treason. This is not good, Ibiki Shisho. He still refuses to talk. An Anbu interrogator said, I know, even the Jigyaku no Jutsu, time reversal technique, has little effect on him. But I guess it's to be expected. Anbu elite are trained to withstand the jutsu. Ibiki sighed. What should we do, Ibiki Shisho? I know that Hokage-sama told us to use whatever means necessary, but… The Anbu captain raised his hand to silence him. Not to worry, my friend. There's someone coming to take care of this little problem, he said with a sadistic smile. As if on cue, that someone came into the interrogation room. Also glad you could come, Anko, Ibiki said, greeting his fellow Jonin. Glad I could help. So where's the stubborn bastard? Anko asked with her trademark smirk. Ibiki smiled and pointed into the room where he was contained. Thanks, Ibiki. I promise I won't hurt him much, she said while she headed inside. So you stubborn bastard, you still refuse to tell us why your little friends tried to kill Naruto? Anko asked the prisoner. That's right. I'll have nothing to do with helping that demon brat. Tenkai and Shingo were justified in what they did, he replied. I see, the snake mistress said angrily. Why do you side with that monster when you know what he did? The Anbu guard asked her. Anko grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up by the scruff of his neck. Because that monster is my friend, you maggot. He saved the life of a girl who became my greatest student. I have more in common with him than you'll ever know, the snake mistress said proudly. Besides, if it wasn't for you ignorant bastards, none of this would have happened, she added as she threw him to the ground, giving him a swift kick in the stomach. Since the prisoner's hands were tied, he couldn't defend against it as he shouted in pain. She grabbed him by the neck again and slammed him back down into the chair. She took a deep breath and proceeded to get down to business. "Now then, I heard from a source that you hate snakes," she said in an eerily calm voice. "Why do you ask?" the prisoner stammered. "Have I got a jutsu for you?" Anko replied sadistically. She lifted her hand and pointed at him as she called out, "Hubby no Shinso, snake of truth." A single, large blue snake appeared from her sleeve and wrapped itself around the Anbu guard to the point in which he couldn't move. The prisoner tried to break free from the serpent's grasp, but to no avail. As soon as the snake was stable, it bit his hand. His scream could be heard even outside the interrogation room. A cave north of the land of metal. A young man was lying on the ground inside the cave unconscious as well as bound, gagged and blindfolded. While not too far from him, two menacing figures were talking about future plans. "Are you sure about this?" a large blue man carrying a bandaged sword asked. "Yes, the information is reliable. He will come," a well-built young man with red eyes answered. "Why do we need him? You know this isn't our style," the large man said. "He is necessary. This man is acquainted with one of his old friends. When he knows the truth and receives our message, he will come to us." The young man replied in a calculating voice. "I hope you're right about this, Itachi," the large man said. "Do not worry, Kisame. Even with his friends, he won't win. Konoha can't save him now." Itachi replied coldly. The land of metal. A day after they left the last village and changed their looks, the four ninjas reached the main city of the land of metal. There were numerous shops that sold various things, all made of different metals and stones. "We should get as much tools as we can since the metals are cheap here," Naruto said. "Any ideas, Naruto-kun? There are so many tool shops here," Temari asked as she gazed at all of them. They started to walk around trying to get the best for their buck until Tayuya saw a familiar sign. "Hey Naruto-kun, check it out," Tayuya called to him. When the spiky blonde saw the sign, he beamed. The sign read, "Come to Karen's Super Emporium, home of the famous shopkeeper whose low prices are the best throughout the lands." "Oh man, I completely forgot that she lives here now," Naruto said out loud. "You know this Karen?" Temari asked with a raised eyebrow. "I certainly do. Come on, I'll explain on the way," Naruto replied. As they walked to the Emporium, he told his friends about the young girl that he helped become a better person in his genin days. When the spiky blonde first met Karen Kagura, she was just a budding businesswoman who inherited the ninja tool shop from her father who had recently passed away. The only problem was that she possessed a personality that rivaled Hyuga Hinata's. Despite her gloominess, as Naruto called it, she asked the Godem Hokage Tsunade for help and the blonde ninja accepted the mission. Wearing a flyer on the back of his jacket, he became a living advertisement by going throughout the towns in Fire Country and advertising her store while tossing out flyers everywhere. The mission was a success and the red-eyed girl's shop was saved, which in the process made her more confident in herself and the work she did. Through a number of bizarre events, Naruto ended up saving her life when she accidentally stumbled upon one of Orochimaru's research factories while gathering minerals and metals for weapons. As thanks for that selfless rescue, she assisted him with tools when his team along with Shikamaru, Choji, Neji, and Rock Lee helped take down one of Orochimaru's bases. Afterwards, the blonde ninja helped her advertise from time to time and she eventually expanded her booming business by opening up a huge emporium in the land of metal, where she eventually moved. As the four finally reached the emporium, they went inside the large tool shop where it was very busy. So many items to choose from. "She must do great business," Gaara said. "Hell yeah Gaara-kun. Naruto and I used to get our tools at her original shop. I'm glad she kept it open after she left," Tayuya said cheerfully. "I can see why. These tools are not only of excellent quality, but they're very cheap too." Temari said honestly. "Yeah, that's Karen-chan for you," Naruto said, happy that he helped his friend become such a confident and strong businesswoman. They finally made it to the counter where a young girl with pigtails and glasses was sitting. "Welcome to Karen's Super Emporium. How can I help you today?" the young girl greeted. "Hi there, is Karen Kagura here today?" Naruto asked cheerfully. He had not seen her since she left Konoha and wanted to say hello. "And who is asking?" the girl asked back with a raised eyebrow. Uzumaki Naruto. She and I were friends back in Konoha. He answered. The young girl's face suddenly became pale and she sweated nervously. Please excuse me, I'll be back in a few minutes, she said as she went into a door in the back. The four ninjas looked confused by the sudden change in the girl. What the fuck was that all about? Tayuya asked with a befuddled look on her face. I don't know, but I got a bad feeling about this. Naruto answered with a serious look etched across his visage. The pigtailed girl with glasses returned 5 minutes later and opened a side door for them to pass through. Please follow me, I'll take you to Karen-san, she said. They just shrugged their shoulders and followed her through the door and up a flight of stairs. They entered a large living room with a large sofa, a couple of lounge chairs, and a coffee table. In one of the lounge chairs, the brownish red-haired owner of all the Karen emporiums throughout the land sat with a cup of tea in her hand and a melancholic look on her face. I brought them, Karen-san, the pigtailed girl said. Thank you, Yuri. You can head back now. I'll take it from here, Karen told her in her soft voice. Yuri bowed and headed downstairs. It's been a long time, Naruto-kun, the red-eyed girl said somewhat sadly while putting the teacup down and walking over to him. Naruto immediately frowned at her, knowing that something was very wrong. What's wrong, Karen-chan? Why do you look so sad? Naruto asked softly with concern. The young woman said nothing and just ran to the spiky blonde, hugging him tightly and sobbing into his chest. To say that everyone was surprised would be an understatement. What's the matter, Karen-chan? Why are you crying? Naruto asked again after recovering from the shock. She looked up at him with the tears still flowing out of her eyes. Naruto-kun, please help me. My fiancé has been kidnapped. Karen sobbed while lowering her head back to his chest. Naruto just held her gently and stroked her back while looking at his friends as he just let the poor girl cry. 30 minutes later. About 2 days ago, while I was away from the Emporium working on opening up a new shop, my fiancé was kidnapped while returning to our home late at night. Karen explained as she sat at the lounge chair drinking her tea after calming down. Do you know who kidnapped him, Karen-san? Temari asked. No, I don't, but at the place where he was taken by the kidnappers, there were 2 notes. One for me and one for Naruto-kun, she answered as she pulled out the notes from her pocket. Huh? There was one for me? Naruto asked incredulously. Yes. According to my note, they told me that you and your friends would be coming in a few days. Since we're old friends and you knew I had a shop here, they must have known that you would visit. Karen answered. Let me see that note, Karen-chan, Naruto ordered. She nodded and handed him the note. As the spiky blonde and his friends started to read it, their faces immediately changed to anger. Naruto, if you're reading this letter, then that woman has told you what we did. If you want to save the fiancé of your friend, then come to the caves that lie north of the land of metal. The woman will show you the way. See you soon, your old enemies. After they read the short note, they saw the emblem of a dark red cloud at the bottom of it. They automatically knew who it was. Akatsuki, the 4 said in unison. I can't believe those sons of bitches. Going after Naruto-kun is one thing, but to resort to kidnapping our friends? Tayuya said, completely dumbfounded that they would stoop so low. I wouldn't put it past those bastards. Not after what nearly happened to Gaara and Kankuro. Temari replied while thinking about that painful event. Yes, we had to help him, brother. The Master of Sand said. I'm way ahead of you, brother. Naruto agreed with rage etched across his face. He then turned to Karen and lowered his head. Karen-chan, I'm so sorry about getting you and your fiancé involved in my troubles. Please forgive me, the spiky blonde said sadly. Naruto-kun, Temari frowned. The past still wasn't done with them. Karen walked over to Naruto and lifted his head, giving him a warm smile. There's no need to apologize, Naruto-kun. This isn't your fault. Remember, I'm not a stranger to meeting your enemies. All I ask is that you bring my Koishi back to me, please. Karen said in her soft voice. You got it, Karen-chan. I promise I'll bring him back to you in one piece. Naruto vowed while smiling back warmly at her. I know that you will, Naruto-kun. I believe in you. If there's anything you need from my shop, please take it. I give it to you freely. The red-eyed owner said. Thanks, Karen-chan. All right, everyone, let's get ready, Naruto ordered. The 3 of them complied and headed downstairs to stock up. But Karen stopped the blonde ninja before he went down with them. What is it, Karen-chan? Naruto asked his friend. She went to the back of the room and opened a drawer, pulling something shiny out. "Please take this, Naruto-kun," Karen said as she handed him a golden kunai. "What's so special about this kunai, Karen-chan?" he asked. "It has a special charge inside that can paralyze an enemy temporarily. It is something I made but didn't put in my shop because of its power. It may come in handy during your battle," she answered. "Thanks, Karen-chan. If it's who I think it is, it will definitely come in handy," he said. After putting away the gold kunai, Karen told him the location of the caves north of the Land of Metal. He then joined the others to restock his tools and immediately left the main city. "So, what's the plan, partner?" Tayuya asked the blonde ninja while they jumped through the trees. "If we're fighting the ones I'm thinking about, then I have a plan," Naruto answered. "And it's all thanks to Karen-chan," he added. "What do you mean, Naruto-kun? What does Karen-san have to do with it?" Temari asked curiously. Naruto simply grinned. "You'll see, Tima-chan. All right guys, here's what we're going to do," the spiky blonde said as he explained his plan to them. Temari, Gaara, and Tayuya knew that their unofficial leader's plans were crazy, dangerous and foolhardy. But they always worked. And since the two kunoichis both were strategists in their own right, the plan had a high chance of working. They finally reached the caves where the two Akatsuki members were waiting for them at the front of the cave that held Karen's fiancé. "Long time no see, Naruto," Itachi said in an emotionless voice as the four of them landed on the ground. "Uchiha Itachi," the spiky blonde growled before his lips curled up into a smirk. He glanced back at the others and they all nodded slightly. "Sorry Itachi, but as Tayuya-chan would say, payback is a bitch," Naruto thought. It truly was a new beginning for him, because this time, he would have an advantage over them. Naruto, Temari, Gaara, and Tayuya immediately got into their battle stances, but the two Akatsuki members remained calm. "Come with us, Naruto, and no one will have to die here," Itachi said in his usual emotionless voice. "Can't I at least kill his friends?" Kisame asked with bloodlust in his eyes. "Calm yourself, Kisame," the Uchiha replied sternly. "You disappoint me, guys. I didn't expect you two to go down to the levels of that snake bastard," Naruto replied with a sneer. "You said it, Naruto-kun. At least Sasori had the guts to come at Gaara directly. Oh, how the mighty have fallen." Temari agreed with a smirk. "Well, what do you expect from two S-ranked pieces of shit, Temari? After failing to capture Naruto-kun last time, it's no surprise they would become cowardly fucks." Tayuya added. "Yes. Truly pathetic for an Uchiha and the so-called monster of the hidden mist." Gaara agreed with a light chuckle. "Why you little brats?" Kisame roared as he reached for his Samahata, sharkskin. "Kisame, calm down," Itachi said, glaring at him, which caused his partner to lower his hand from his weapon. "Now Naruto, will you come with us peacefully, or will your friends have to die?" Itachi asked, returning his attention back to the spiky blonde. "Before I answer, is Karen-chan's fiancé unharmed?" Naruto countered. "Yes. He is just tied up in the cave. If you come with us, I'll release him," Itachi answered. "In that case I'll just kick both your Akatsuki asses and rescue him. Simple as that," the spiky blonde said as he pulled out some shurikens while his friends started to pull out their weapons. "Alright then brats, I hope you'll make this fun," Kisame replied as he dropped his sword in front of the four in order to intimidate them. They just started laughing at the huge man. "What's so funny, you brats?" the large man yelled. "What's so fun about getting your ass kicked, you scaly motherfucker?" Tayuya chortled. "And they call fish brain food," Temari added, making the others laugh louder. "That's it, you're all dead," Kisame roared angrily. Itachi tried to stop his partner, but it was too late as he charged and struck all of them with a wide slash of his sword. They all fell to the ground limply, leaving the mist swordsman with a smug look on his face, but it soon disappeared as the bodies of the four soon vanished with a loud poof. "What the hell?" Kisame said with a dumbfounded look on his face. As soon as the words came out of his mouth, a ball exploded in the air around them, letting off a blinding light. "I can't see," the Uchiha groaned as the light blinded him and his partner. Then several smoke grenades were thrown to the ground, making them more disoriented. Kufu Suika no Jutsu, drowning maelstrom technique. Naruto yelled as Kisame was blasted with a powerful waterspout, sending the large man flying through several trees, crashing into a rock far away from Itachi. Though his sight was still blurry, the master of the Mangekyo Sharingan, kaleidoscopic copy wheel, was about to go after his partner when Gaara's voice called out, Ho Mingu Suna Shuriken, Homing Sand Shuriken. Fast-moving balls of sand came at Itachi from out of the smoke and he was barely able to dodge them, but the fast balls changed course and hit the Akatsuki member right in his spine, knocking him off balance. As soon as the last ball hit him, Tayuya appeared into the smoke and hit the Uchiha with a chakra-enhanced punch square in the face, making him fly into the mountain wall. Now Tayuya-chan, Gaara yelled, and the red-haired flutist started to make quick hand seals before Itachi recovered. Odaton. Kage no Metsuki, sound release, shadow of eyes. She yelled, and with a few notes of her flute Itachi yelled in pain as his sight completely disappeared, making his Kekkei Genkei useless. How can this be? I can counter all genjutsus used against me. The now blind Uchiha said groggily as he slowly got up. For a prodigy, that was a real fucking stupid thing to say. Tayuya spat. Now let's see how you fight without your partner, your little red eyes, or without you hearing this, you stupid ass Uchiha. She added, while the flutist was doing the Odaton. Musehara no Jutsu, sound release. Silent field technique, to form an invisible field around her and the Master of Sand to conceal their movements. Gaara bit down on his finger and made some hand seals of his own. Slamming his hand on the ground he yelled, Kachiyose, Suna Kyojin Gobi, summoning, Sand Giant Gobi. A large golem made entirely out of sand appeared with two coal-like eyes and runic markings all over its body. What is your bidding, Gaara-sama? Gobi asked with a gravelly voice. Rip him to pieces. The Master of Sand replied with an evil smile as he pointed to the now blind Itachi. As you command, Master. The golem said obediently as he and Gaara started to charge the Akatsuki member. Itachi knew he was in trouble as he got into a battle stance, trying to use his remaining senses to fight back. Naruto-kun, Temari, the rest is up to you. Tayuya thought as she jumped into the fray. A few miles away, Kisame started to stand with a stunned look on his face as he started to recover from Naruto's surprise attack. Damn, how were those brats able to catch us off guard like that? The large man said out loud. Having a former member of the Sound 4 as a best friend has its advantages. A male voice answered above him. Kisame looked up, and to his horror, shadow clones of Naruto and Temari were in the trees above him. Knowing he was completely surrounded, the demon shark growled and got into a battle stance with his Zanbato at the ready. I'm not the little genin I used to be, Kisame. All the Naruto clones said simultaneously. Ha, you think you two brats can beat one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist? Kisame asked smugly. Oh, we're not going to defeat you, you scaly bastard. All the Temari clones replied with a smirk. We're going to kill you outright. All the Naruto clones yelled as the Temari clones threw flash and fire bombs at him, setting the area on fire, while the Naruto clones threw smoke grenades and fire kunais to try and disorient Kisame. This time I will remove your legs, brat. The demon shark yelled in the smoke. All the clones started to laugh as a few of them went into the smoke and started to attack the disoriented man with taijutsu. Not surprisingly, he was able to counter a couple of clones with his sword, making them disappear. But with the smoke and flames still disorienting him, combined with the clones in the back continually laughing at him, he couldn't counter them all as they threw fire kunais at him and smoke grenades to keep him confused. He became so enraged that he was being bested by the blonde duo that he didn't even bother to use the water jutsus he was so adept at, instead focusing on shredding the clones with his sword. Damn brats, stop that laughing. Kisame hollered into the smoke. But the clones outside the area just continued to roar with laughter as Naruto and Temari just made more clones in their hiding place every time the large man destroyed them. Alright, he's taken the bait. Naruto thought in the shadows while waiting for his moment to strike. Damn it, at this rate the brats will beat me. The demon shark thought as he continued to fight and destroy the clones while continuing to be pummeled by fire kunais, smoke grenades and firebombs. The fire weapons were slowly draining away his stamina as well as dehydrating him, making his movement sluggish and completely destroying his cloak, while the smoke grenades and constant clone attacks were keeping him off balance. Kisame realized that in order to win this battle he needed to get rid of this smoke and fire. Alright kids, playtime is over. Kisame roared, still enraged, as he started to make hand seals. Watching from the shadows, Naruto knew this was the moment to strike. Tima-chan, now. The spiky blonde yelled from the shadows as the real Temari came out of hiding, and along with her clones they prepared themselves to counterattack what Naruto knew was going to come. Sweden. Bakusu Shoha, water release, exploding water shockwave. The demon shark shouted angrily. Kamaitachi no Arashi, storm of the cutting whirlwind. All the Temari clones shouted back. Their attacks came out simultaneously as Kisame started to spit out a massive amount of water from his mouth, while Temari and her clones counterattacked with hurricane-like winds, forcing the water shockwave back. Their attacks created a temporary stalemate which enraged the large man even further. Kisame was about to spit more water out to break Temari's attack when Naruto made a counterattack of his own. Shihahapo shuriken from all directions. The Naruto clones yelled as they threw shurikens at Kisame from every angle. With his attention focused on the Wind Mistress and her clones combined with him still spitting water from his mouth, there was no way for the demon shark to counter the weapons coming at him. Damn, I completely forgot about him, he thought as the demon shark watched them come at him. But it was too late for him to counter the shurikens as they planted themselves all over his body, deeply causing him to break his attack and shriek loudly in pain. Before he could finish screaming, the real Naruto finally appeared underground behind Kisame and shoved the golden kunai deep into his spine, releasing the charge and completely paralyzing him. What the hell is this? I can't move, the demon shark thought, since he was unable to speak because of the paralysis. He tried to break out of it and reach for Samahata, but to no avail. He was completely helpless. You know, Kisame, if there are two things I learned when I became a Chunin, is that you never underestimate your opponent in battle. And that anger can be your enemy if you let it. Forgetting those lessons and hurting my friends is going to cost you dearly. Naruto growled at the Akatsuki member. The large man would have growled back at him if he could, because he knew what the young man said was true. His temper combined with his overconfidence helped him fall right into the blonde duo's trap. Let's do it, Tima-chan. He yelled at his Koishi, beloved. Right, Naruto-kun. Temari yelled back as they were about to try a new technique they learned during intensive matches with each other. As the real Naruto moved out of the way, two clones of Naruto and Temari kicked Kisame in the air on all sides of his body, launching him into the air. Two Temari clones and 5 Naruto clones followed him in the air as the real Temari disappeared and the real Naruto stood under Kisame's shadow and started to form a futon. Rasengan, wind release. Spiraling sphere, in his hand. The two Temari clones attacked the helpless demon shark with Kamaitachi no Jutsu, cutting whirlwind technique, on his left and right side of his body, completely immobilizing him, while the 5 Naruto clones went above him and came down at him with an axe kick on Kisame's head, arms and legs. As soon as the axe kicks connected, the real Wind Mistress appeared and used Daikamaitachi no Jutsu, great cutting whirlwind technique, from above, effectively sending Kisame falling to the ground at great speeds right into the real Naruto's powerful Rasengan, which hit Kisame square in the center, completely removing his upper body save his head. As soon as Temari landed and the bloody pieces of the now dead Akatsuki member fell to the ground, the blonde duo yelled, Akahitofuki no K's Renden, bloody gust of wind combo. As soon as they caught their breaths, the spiky blonde was the first to speak. I can't believe we were able to pull that attack off, Naruto said, completely exhausted from the battle. Forget that. I can't believe we were able to kill that scaly bastard. I'm completely out of chakra. Temari replied, bending to one knee, feeling more tired than her boyfriend. Are you all right, Tima-chan? The spiky blonde asked with worry in his voice as he quickly went to her side and placed an arm around the sandy blonde's shoulder to help her stand up. Nothing that dinner and a good bath can't fix, Temari answered with a worn-out expression on her face. Your plan to have Tayuya and Gaara occupy Itachi while we take out Kisame with Karen-san's golden kunai was flawless, Naruto-kun, she said honestly with pride. This caused her Koishi to blush a deep red while rubbing the back of his head. I remembered the battle I had against him with Ero Sennin, perverted hermit, and I used that and my own weaknesses as a genin against him, Naruto said humbly, remembering all the times he let his anger and his overconfidence get the best of him. Besides, I couldn't have done it without all of you and Karen-chan's tools. He added, you're much too modest, Naruto-kun, she said warmly while she wrapped her arms around his waist. Baki-sensei was right, you're destined for great things. And to think I once thought you were weak. she added, relaxing her head on his chest. Tima-chan, Naruto beamed at his lover. And just when he was about to capture Temari's lips with his, Kisami's sword Samahata was starting to glow. Uzumaki Naruto, come to me. The sentient sword called out to the spiky blonde in his mind. Huh? Naruto said out loud as he looked at the sword glowing with blue chakra. What's wrong, Naruto-kun? Temari asked with uneasiness. Kisami's sword just called out to me. It wants me to come over to it. The spiky blonde answered. What are you going to do? The sandy blonde asked. I'm going over to touch it, but be ready for anything. He warned. Temari nodded and pulled out her fan. She may have been out of chakra, but she could still use her weapon. Naruto walked cautiously to Samahata, remembering what happened to Might Guy when he tried to hold it. He gripped its handle and the blue chakra surrounding the weapon enveloped the spiky blonde, covering his own body. He started to close his eyes and Temari began to worry, but she sensed no evil coming from Naruto or Samahata. Even so, she hoped this wasn't a sign of foreboding. Where am I? Naruto wondered out loud as he gazed at his unusual surroundings. He was standing in the middle of the ocean with a clear blue sky as his background. Fear not, Naruto Dono, you are in no danger. The voice answered as the large sword appeared out of nowhere. I just wanted to thank you properly for awakening me from my deep slumber. It added. What do you mean? The spiky blonde questioned with a perplexed look. What you see before you is not my true form. Long ago, before you were born, I was created by a forgotten ninja swordsmith and was blessed by Kami and the elemental gods of this world, making me a sentient weapon with magnificent powers. The gods decreed that only those pure of heart and spirit that are chosen by me can use me to my full power. Those who are not worthy shall be cursed and punished by me. The sword started to explain. No way. You were blessed by the gods of this world? The loud ninja asked, completely shocked by its words. Yes, Naruto Dono. But evil ninjas coveted me and wanted to use my power for their own gain. So much that they killed my creator and his family. But before he died, he tossed me into the bottom of the sea so that I would not fall into the wrong hands. It answered dejectedly. Naruto couldn't help but feel sorry for the weapon and its creator. So how did you end up with Kisame? He inquired. After being tossed into the sea, I fell into a deep slumber and stayed that way for over 100 years. I eventually washed ashore and was found by the Hoshigaki clan of the Mist. Kisami's ancestors did not know of my true nature and just thought I was a rare katana. However, they did sense some of my power, but thought that I had little destructive capabilities. So they forged me with the skin of a shark and turned me into a Zanbato, thus giving me the name Samahata. The sword accounted to the young man. Naruto decided to remain silent as the weapon continued. After I was forged once again, the Hoshigaki clan used me as a tool of destruction in order to gain power in Kirigakure no Sato, village hidden in mist. They wielded me with malice and hate in their hearts and were not worthy of my power, but because of the sharkskin I was remade with I could not awaken and was forced to serve them. But even in slumber, my spirit knew what they were doing and they had to be punished for their actions. So I cast a curse on their clan and made whoever wielded me from the family into a shark for as long as they lived. Samahata finished. So that's why he looks that way. The blonde ninja deduced. Correct, Naruto Dono. Unfortunately, they were able to counteract my curse and used it to their advantage, inadvertently helping them become stronger in the process. The weapon said apologetically. At first I didn't think I would ever be free from Kisami's grasp, but when I absorbed your chakra when he fought you for the first time, it gave me hope of being free from my long nightmare. It added. I understand how you feel. I'm glad that I was able to free you. Naruto said amiably at the sword. Thank you, Naruto Dono. Now I know that you are truly a person with a pure heart and spirit. Now that Kisame is gone, I am fully awakened and I choose you to be my lord and master. Samahata said in a loyal tone. Are you serious? I'm your lord and master? The spiky blonde yelled, completely dumbfounded. Yes, master. From this day forward, I will protect you and serve you for all time. Your will is my will. I will give you all my power so that you can protect the people you love and find your place in this world. This I swear to you, Uzumaki Naruto. The sword decreed. Naruto's felt like his jaw just hit the floor. He was still absorbing all that the weapon said. Although he was uncertain about the weapon due to his history with mystical beings, the young man somehow knew that it could be trusted. Besides, he kind of liked being called Lord and Master. If you truly find me worthy, then I accept your power, my friend. The spiky blonde said with determination. If this sword is as powerful as it says, I won't have to rely on that damn fox's chakra so much. He thought. At this point he and his friends could use all the allies it could get. Then take my handle and claim me as your own Naruto dono. The sword said. Naruto wasted no time and gripped the handle. At that moment the weapon that was once called Samahata was no more, as all the shark skin that was on it scattered, only to be replaced by a beautiful katana that had an icy blue color with a golden hilt. The spiky blonde held the katana, which was very lightweight, in his hand as blue chakra swirled around it. Some of the sharkskin became a magical sheath and latched itself on Naruto's back. I am the legendary sword blessed by Kami and the elemental gods of this world. My name is Susanoo. I am forever yours, Naruto dono. I know I am in good hands. And please know, my master, that no matter what fate awaits you on your journey, the gods and I are with you. Never forget that, it decreed. So, somebody is watching over me. Naruto thought as a smile crossed his face while tears stung his eyes. Susanoo's words gave him hope and eased the worries he kept at the back of his mind. Thank you, he replied to his new ally as white light engulfed him. He opened his eyes to see Temari looking at him with concern. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? I was so scared when the sword broke apart like that when you didn't answer me. She asked when she ran over and embraced him. Naruto kissed the sandy blonde on the lips and smiled warmly at her. Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry I made you worried, Tima-chan. I was just talking to my new friend here. He answered as he lifted the katana for her to see. What do you mean, your new friend? Temari questioned, raising an eyebrow at her boyfriend. This is Samahata's true form, Tima-chan. This is a sentient sword called Susanoo. He explained. Susanoo? I've heard that name before. In the ancient libraries in Suna, there was a story of a legendary magical sword made by a blacksmith that was blessed by Kami and the elemental gods. But I always thought that was a legend. Temari said, showing her keen knowledge. Well, this is the real thing and it chose me as its master. Naruto replied happily. That's great, Naruto-kun. Right now we could use all the help we can get. The kunoichi said honestly. Thanks, Tima-chan. If this katana is as powerful as he told me, it'll definitely come in handy. The young ninja agreed as he placed the katana in the sharkskin sheath. I'm just glad that Kisame didn't figure out what he had, otherwise we would be dead right now. Temari said. I know. I think I'll stay away from seafood for a while. Naruto joked, causing the blonde duo to bust out in laughter. After the laugh fest, Susanoo spoke to Naruto in his mind. Naruto dono, can you hear me? The sword asked his master politely. Loud and clear, my friend. He replied loudly in his head. Can you take me to Kisami's head? Susanoo requested. Huh? Why? Naruto asked confusedly. You'll see, master. The weapon answered. Well, if you say so. The blonde ninja shrugged. Hey, Tima-chan, do you know where the head of that scaly bastard fell to? He questioned. Yeah, it's over there. Why do you ask? Temari questioned back with a raised eyebrow. Susanoo wants me to take it to him. Naruto answered. The sandy blonde just looked at him silently, asking why, but he just shrugged his shoulders as they walked to the dead man's head. The sword asked the spiky blonde to unsheath him and he complied. Now, master, use me to touch his head and I will absorb the curse I gave him while transferring his strength, speed, his large chakra supply and knowledge of all his jutsus to you. He instructed his lord. You can do that? I won't change or anything? Naruto asked fearfully. Do not fear, Naruto dono. Remember, I am your loyal servant and will not allow any harm to befall you or anyone close to you. Susanoo said in a calm voice, reassuring him. Naruto nodded and touched the deceased Akatsuki's head with his sword. Swirling blue chakra came out of the sword and went in the direction of Kisami's body parts, absorbing the curse Susanoo placed on him, turning his normally blue skin into a pale human color. The energy came back and covered Naruto head to toe. The chakra canals in his body expanded and became stronger as Kisami's chakra merged with his own with no side effects or strain on his body whatsoever, giving him an incredibly large supply of chakra at his disposal, greater than any normal human being, as well as excellent chakra control which the large man possessed. The process is complete, master. Your chakra supply is now many times larger than any normal human, and that is not including the demon chakra the Kyuubi possesses. You also have the knowledge of all of Kisami's water jutsus at your command, including his chakra control abilities. All your physical attributes have become stronger as well. The weapon explained. Yes, I can feel the power flowing through me. The spiky blonde said as all the exhaustion from the battle earlier vanished. I'm happy to be able to serve you, Naruto Dono. Call me whenever you desire. I'll always be with you. Susanoo said warmly as he disappeared from his hand and returned to the sheath. Temari just stared silently in amazement at the scene she just witnessed. If she didn't see it with her own two eyes, she wouldn't believe it. So how do you feel, Naruto-kun? The sandy blonde asked when it was all over. I feel great, Tima-chan. The sword gave me all of Kisami's chakra and abilities with no side effects. Naruto shouted excitedly. No way, is that really true? She asked incredulously. It's true, just watch, Naruto said as he made a hand sign and said, Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu, water clone technique. Clones of Naruto made out of water formed and appeared around him. You're right, you never knew that technique before. Temari gasped. I know, I've learned a lot of water jutsus in less than 5 minutes. The spiky blonde said in disbelief. Stand back, Tima-chan, I want to try something. He ordered. She obeyed and moved a few feet away from him. Naruto remembered how strong Kisame was and wanted to test his strength. He smashed his fist into the ground and created a crater so huge that the one Sakura made during Kakashi's test looked like a tiny hole. Wow, I'm as strong as Tsunade Bachan, Granny Tsunade, now. Naruto thought. Kisami's physical strength and excellent chakra control combined with the spiky blonde's natural abilities, which included the chakra control exercises taught to him by the female Sannin, helped turn him into a true powerhouse in less than a day. Incredible. Susanoo is truly a sword blessed by the gods if it could make Naruto-kun this powerful in such a short time. Temari thought in astonishment. I hope I can become as strong as him when I learn my mother's jutsus. She added. Temari was looking even more forward to finding her new home. The kunoichi walked over and tapped her boyfriend on the shoulder, breaking him out of the daze he was in after his mighty feat. Come on, Naruto-kun. Let's see if Gaara and Tayuya are alright. The sandy blonde said with urgency. Okay, let's hurry, he replied. That won't be necessary, brother. Gaara's voice called out as he appeared in a wave of sand with Tayuya and Karen's fiancé. Alright, you guys made it. Naruto cheered as he and Temari ran to them. The red-headed duo was a little worse for wear, but they were all right. What happened to Itachi? The blonde kunoichi asked. When we heard Kisami's scream, he ran away like a little bitch. We almost had the red-eyed fucker too. Tayuya grumbled. That's all right, Tayuya-chan, I'm just glad you're all safe. Did your jutsu work? Naruto questioned. Like a charm. He didn't know what hit him. The red-haired kunoichi answered with pride. Excellent. As you can see, his partner is history. Temari said. Well done, you two. Gaara nodded in approval. Thanks, Gaara. Next time we'll take care of Itachi together. Naruto said, looking at the others seriously. All of them nodded in agreement. The spiky blonde then walked over to Karen's fiancé. Are you alright? Did they hurt you? He asked in regard to his well-being. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. That red-eyed man just used a genjutsu to knock me out. The man retorted. The four ninjas' eyes widened at the man who looked so mild-mannered to them. Are you a ninja? Temari inquired with curiosity. No, I'm not. My name is Shindo Seseki. I'm the heir of the Seseki clan, a group of elite ninja mercenaries that died during the Great Ninja War. My clan belonged to no nation and hired their services to the highest bidder. In the end, my mother and I were the only one who survived after the war was over. We decided to live as civilians afterwards in the land of metal. The young man explained. So that's how you knew what Itachi did to you? Gaara said. Yes, I'm a lot stronger than I look. Shindo said sheepishly. Well, that's good to hear. Come on. Let's get you back to Karen-chan. Naruto declared. And with that they left the forest and started to head back to the city, talking about the battle and their new ally along the way. A few hours passed as Karen waited at the gates of the bustling city for their return with a mixture of hope and worry in her heart. She didn't have to wait long as she saw the 5 of them arrive just as the sun was going down over the horizon. The red-eyed businesswoman ran to her koibito, lover, sweetheart, and jumped into his arms. Shindo-kun, you're safe. I'm so glad. Karen cried as she nuzzled his chest. I missed you so much, Karen-chan. I'm sorry I made you worry. Shindo mumbled into her hair. The young woman just shook her head as she looked into his dark eyes. It's all right, Shindo-kun. Naruto-kun brought you back and that's all that matters to me. Karen said, beaming at her future husband. After a nice deep kiss between the two, she walked over and gave her close friend a warm hug. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I'm forever in your debt. The young woman said warmly. The spiky blonde pulled back and gave her an amiable smile. No, Karen-chan, we should be thanking you. If it wasn't for your golden kunai and all the weapons you gave us, it would have been a lot harder to get Shindo back. Naruto said honestly, which his friends agreed. Even so, Naruto-kun, I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for you. You saved me, my family's business and my soon-to-be husband. I thank you and your friends from the bottom of my heart. Karen said joyfully as she and Shindo bowed to the four ninjas in a show of respect. They were all speechless and couldn't help but blush a little at the act. A week later, Naruto, Temari, Gaara and Tayuya decided to stay in the land of metal to rest up after the battle. They stayed at Karen's large house and were given the pampered treatment by her servants. The spiky blonde told Karen and Shindo about what happened to the four of them and apologized again for the Akatsuki mess. They just brushed it off and told him not to worry about it and to make himself at home. After doing all their shopping and filling up on tools free of charge at Karen's emporium, they headed to the gates to say their farewells to the couple. Thanks again for the hospitality, Karen-san. Temari said happily. It was my pleasure, Temari-san. Good luck with you and Naruto-kun. Karen said, returning the kunoichi's smile. Oh, don't worry. I'll take good care of this handsome man. The sandy blonde replied, wrapping her arms around his and giving her koishi a wink. Naruto just chuckled and gave her a gentle kiss on the cheek. Naruto, I want you to have this. Shindo said as he walked over to him and put an old scroll in his hand. What kind of scroll is this, Shindo? The spiky blonde asked inquisitively. It's a hidden, secret, scroll of a technique that's been passed down in my family for generations. Since the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique, is your favorite jutsu, I wanted to give you a clone jutsu that's even better than that famous one. Shindo answered. Are you shitting us? Tayuya yelled in shock, which caused the dark-eyed man to laugh. It's true, Tayuya. This scroll is what made my clan such elite ninjas back then. Since I plan to live my life as a civilian with Karen-chan, I give this scroll to you, Naruto, as thanks for saving my life. Shindo responded in appreciation. Thank you, Shindo. I'll take good care of this. You just take good care of Karen-chan. Naruto said happily as he put the scroll in his pack and shook his hand while the young woman blushed at the young man's comment. I will, my friend. I wish you and your friends good luck in your journey. When we have children, all of you can be godparents. The dark-eyed man said, causing Karen's face to turn an even deeper red. We'll hold you to that. Gaara chuckled. Karen walked up to them and bowed at the four of them once again while hugging Naruto afterwards. Naruto-kun, please take care of yourself. No matter what happens, please know that we both believe in you. She said, beaming at him. Thanks, Karen-chan, and don't worry, we'll find a place to call home. Naruto assured his friend. Of that I have no doubt. The red-eyed woman retorted. You'll always be welcome in our home and your money is no good at my shops. She added happily. Thanks a lot, Karen-san. Take care of yourselves. Tayuya said loudly. And the four ninjas continued their journey to find a place to call home. Don't worry, Karen-chan. Those four heroes are going to be just fine. Shindo said as he wrapped an arm around his koibito's shoulders as they watched them walk away. I know, Shindo-kun. If anyone deserves to find happiness, it's them. Karen whispered as she leaned her head on his shoulders. Hey Shindo-kun, if we have children and it's a boy, can we name him Naruto? She asked her future husband out of the blue. That sounds good to me. The dark-eyed young man answered as he gave her a quick kiss. And if it's a girl, I was thinking of Chelsea. He added. That sounds nice. Karen said quietly, enjoying his warmth. They continued to watch their friends as they disappeared from sight. Sometime later they headed back home, both of them saying a silent prayer to Kami for their safety. Meanwhile, as the four ninjas started to head away from the city, Temari couldn't help but think of the close bond Karen and Shindo possessed. I wonder if Naruto-kun and I will have children someday. She thought as she stared at her boyfriend. She started to blush hard at such ideas and the spiky blonde couldn't help but notice. Penny for your thoughts, Tima-chan? Naruto said, shaking the sandy blonde from her contemplations. Sorry, I was just thinking about you. Temari said, leaving out the more intimate part of her thoughts. Naruto knew she was hiding something but didn't press her on it. He wrapped an arm around her waist, giving her behind a gentle caress, causing her to gasp, and pulled her in for a deep kiss. I love you, my Kirei Yuri, pretty lily. Naruto whispered in her ear after slowly breaking the kiss. I love you too, Naruto-kun. Temari said, leaning on his shoulder and linking her fingers with his, giving them a squeeze. Tayuya smiled at the couple's sweet moment and felt slightly envious that is until Gaara wrapped his arm around her shoulder and pulled her for a deep kiss, which she gladly returned. You always know the right things to do, Tanuki-kun, Tanuki raccoon dog. The flutist said after breaking the kiss and putting an arm around his waist. I aim to please Hidama-chan, Hidama Fireball. The master of sand said warmly as he put an arm around her slender waist, leaning their heads together. They all enjoyed being young lovers that day, silently praying to Kami that peaceful moments like this would last just a little while longer. Elsewhere in a dark cave. I can't believe that Naruto managed to kill Kisame and catch me off guard like that. Itachi thought as he rested on his cloak while bandages covered his body. He was beaten pretty badly by Gaara and Tayuya and had barely managed to escape. I will have my revenge against you and your friends, Naruto. You can count on that. The normally emotionless Uchiha was angry and enraged at being defeated, outsmarted and embarrassed by the demon container. But as his blood came to a boil, he stared up at a kunai he was holding that had a purple gleam to it and smirked. He closed his eyes and fell asleep so that his wounds could heal. Itachi knew he'd get another chance at Naruto sooner or later. And next time he would be ready. Custom Jutsu list. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.